I'm not saying, are these words synonyms?
Well, it means arguing that.
No, hold on, excuse me. Let me just finish. Are these words synonyms or not?
I'm going to take it that they're not.
They're not synonyms. They're not. So a cause is different from a dependent thing. A dependent thing is different from an explainable thing. An explainable thing is different from contingent thing. So there are some things that a contingent thing has that a dependent thing doesn't. In explanation, there's some things that an explanation has that a cause doesn't. In explanation, in definition. Right?
Could you highlight one of those?
Hold on. Now the PSR depends fully on the idea of explanation, because if we're going to say, for example, that this bottle here, it has to have an explanation outside of itself. Now, the key word being what? Explanation. I can grant you one thing, because when I was looking at it, Mario Bunge wrote a book on causation.
Sure.
It's one of the magnum opuses on the subject, actually very good on this, yeah? And he says that he looks at all the definitions of causation. He says causation is the following. It's the power of C to, it's the power of C equals E.
C equals E. Okay.
So he's basically saying that if A then B, if A then B.
There you go.
Yeah.
But that's what we said, P then Q, right?
Yeah.
So
it's the same thing. If A then B, right?
Yeah.
Which if A, there's a relationship of conditionality between this and that, right?
that's true.
It's going to be a entanglement relation.
That's an entanglement relation, but that's an explanation.
Yeah, accept it. I'm saying that's what I'm saying to you. I'm granting you that much. But hold on. A cause is not the same as a dependent thing, because a dependent thing is by definition something which relies on something else. A cause, by definition, is something which brings rise to other phenomena.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, excellent. So
all
I'm saying is the following. I'm putting to you right now that you can make an argument from dependency, which is effectively an argument for contingency, because traditionally it was called that.
But you said that they're distinct terms.
No, but it was traditionally it was called that.
All cosmological arguments, okay?
No, but it doesn't have to, now you're bringing a new key term in.
You don't even need to say cosmological, it's fine.
What point? The point is this. You can make an argument for dependency that is completely bereft of concepts of PSR. For example, I can make the following proposition. The proposition that this is the argument in one sentence. My argument. This is my argument. You want to engage with it, you can.
Okay.
There cannot be a state of affairs
Yeah.
where only dependent things can exist. That's the argument.
Okay.
Now, this argument is bereft of the PSR.
Why?
Because the word explanation is not being used at all here.
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be used, but you're saying it's wait. If I could just explain. So you're saying that So the point that you're making, right?
Yeah.
You're saying that the PSR is going to be bereft of the argument that you made here, that anything for all that exists, there cannot be only that which exists, which is contingent, right? Dependent. So for anything that exists, there cannot be only that which exists, which is dependent. Or contingent.
I haven't put it that way.
You haven't said dependent or contingent?
No, I haven't put it in the language you just put it.
That's fine. I'm rephrasing it. That's fine.
Okay. I didn't say it the way
exactly.
That's fine. That's fine. You just say exactly.
My articulation was different.
That's fine, and I agree with it. I said that I was rephrasing.
No, but
a rephrasing was just going to keep the same content. It's not really that.
Not really. I don't want it in that way.
Okay, that's fine. Then what's the way you want it?
As long as it tells the same.
Yeah, if it tells the same thing, it's fine. But if he wants it in
Not
specific
necessarily.
terms, then it's fine.
As long as it does.
Why? Who said that?
No, I'm saying.
Well, so as long as if I said something and you said something and I said it in a different way, if what I'm saying entails the exact same relation as what you're saying, then it's fine.
Because argumentatively, two things can tell the same thing, but one is argumentatively true and one can be valid, and one is argumentatively invalid.
Yeah, but both premises, but the argument itself can still be sound.
That's
It
what I'm
wouldn't
saying
mean
is
that
false.
it's valid.
Because I can say something.
Wait, do you think there's a distinction between soundness
And validity.
No, I don't.
There's no there is a distinction between validity and soundness.
No, of course. Sound,
right, but you said no. Look, so
a valid thing is something which obeys the laws of logic, and a sound thing is something which has true premises.
No, which is actually true.
And it's valid as well.
It's true and valid.
So you can have something that is valid without it being true.
Yeah, of course.
Right, that's what we're saying. But what we're saying is...
What I'm saying to you is...
Yeah, go on.
What I'm saying... I'm not sure if we're talking cross purposes or you're doing this on purpose.
No.
All I said is the following, is that there cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist.
Well, I'm going to repeat that.
Now, do you understand this?
Yeah, there cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist. That's important. That's your argument, right? Your argument, right? Remember, you said it's bereft of the PSR. Now you're going to have to explain what you mean by bereft of the PSR.
No, I didn't say bereft. I said
you said bereft of the PSR. You did say bereft of the PSR.
We started off by saying 4 different key terms: causation, contingency, explanation, and dependency.
And then you said something about
PSR. Now, what word did I use in this sentence?
Right. You are specifically using dependence.
Okay, excellent. So I didn't use the word what?
Explanation.
I didn't use the word explanation, did I?
Right.
Okay, excellent.
But that doesn't mean that it's not bereft of the PSR.
No.
I can give you all of the instances.
It's fine. Hold on.
What I used the word dependent. I did not use the word explanation.
And we're granting that for
Okay,
you, but
excellent.
your argument still has to use the PSR in some way.
No, it doesn't.
Absolutely,
No,
because if you say that that's a statement.
No.
Wait, hold on.
No.
It's, look, the fact that he's saying the problem is this.
No.
If I may explain, I can explain to you why
go
it
ahead.
entails
Go
PSR. Just to clarify, when you're saying it, when I am understanding what you mean by bereft of the PSR, that means that in the argument that you're using, the PSR cannot be applied in any sense.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Neither, and even if that's not what you're saying, there's another thing, there's another interpretation.
So let me explain
that
it
it
then.
cannot be implied in any sense.
No, that's not what I'm saying though.
Right, so what are you saying specifically that it's bereft of the PSR?
Let me explain it.
Explain
Let
that,
me explain
bereft.
it very clearly.
Yeah, go on.
The PSR is an articulation of the contingency argument that was put forward by Gottfried Leibniz, okay? And those who came after him. Do you understand me? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
PSR is a
excuse me.
The PSR is a principle, it may have been coined by Leibniz, but it's not restricted.
Are
to
you
it.
listening to me?
I am, of course.
Oh, excellent. So the PSR has a very particular articulation which depends on principles of sufficient reason, but also
The articulation is the
You're talking about the
PSR.
historical context.
No,
of-
excuse
We're just
me.
talking about the
No, but
statement
that's what I'm
itself.
saying. I'm saying to you that yes, the word contingency is used. Causality is used in some of his books. So,
But that's not as important as the actual PSR itself.
Allow me to finish.
Yeah, go on, of course.
Allow me to finish. Yes, he even uses the word causation.
Yeah.
I've looked at his books. Like the word, what's it? Monadology. That's the books that he wrote.
Monadology, yeah.
Yeah, his book is called Monadology, right? I've looked at the articulation of the argument in that book, and I've looked at it in other books. And what I've seen is that he uses the terms explanation, he uses the terms causation, and he uses the terms contingency. These are the terms that he's using.
Sure.
I'm postulating to you now, all I said to you in the beginning was, it is possible to articulate versions of a contingency argument without explicit reference to these key terms. And,
that's fine.
well,
You're just saying that I'm not gonna use the words.
excuse me, that the definitions of
words,
these,
it's fine.
no, it's not fine, because the definitions of these key terms are different. So for example,
Okay.
what is the word dependent mean? If you go on even a vernacular definition of the word dependent,
Sure.
dependent thing is something which depends.
Which vernacular?
Vernacular, go on a dictionary definition.
Oh,
Oxford
sorry.
Dictionary, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
If
Okay.
you're like a layman's, if I go now somewhere right.
You mean a colloquial definition?
Whatever,
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah, it's
vernacular
fine.
It's a synonym.
Yeah.
Go and find online what the word dependent means in human language, in
Yeah.
English language. It means something which relies on something else for its existence.
Yeah,
Something which relies upon something else for its existence.
It's fine.
Now, it's different for me to say, this bottle depends on something else for its existence. Then for me to say, this bottle requires an explanation outside of itself in order to
I know.
what do you call it? A bottle depends on an explanation outside of itself in order to be explained.
Okay,
to
so
be explicable.
there is a point
So
there
that's what I'm
that
saying to you. Excuse me.
It's fine, it's
All I'm
fine.
saying
He's
to you
still-
is, if you want to deal with the argument at hand, my articulation of the argument, although I can defend the PSR, I haven't got a problem with it. I think it's a good argument. It's not really the argument of choice for me. The argument of choice for me is using my articulation. If you want to deal with it, you can.
Yeah.
My argument is as follows. It's simple as this. You cannot have a state of affairs. It's a postulation. I'm postulating. I'm saying to the people. I'm saying to you. You cannot have a state of affairs where only dependent things exist. Okay, because it leads to a range of different absurdities. Now we can talk about those absurdities if you like. Contradictions and absurdities and problems. That's what I'm saying.
you just
so
used
then,
the PSR. You just did it. So hold on. Alex,
I
please.
don't think
If it's okay, look. This is the problem. This is
don't
the
think
thing that
you
you said.
understand what I'm
No. You made a
It's similar to the
postulate.
PSR.
If I can
Similar.
finish, all right. So we gave you like really good ample time to speak, and I appreciate the fact they gave ample time to speak. I don't have water, but I'm thirsty, but it's fine. Here's the point. No, it's irrelevant. I was just making a joke. It's like irrelevant. I'm trying to keep the thing going. You know what I'm
Okay,
trying to say? So you said to everyone with the huge arms that you have that you made a postulate, right? With my skinny arms, I'm going to say that your postulate has to require the PSR for it to make sense. So when you say the postulate,
somehow.
for example, that, and I'm gonna try and see if I can remember exactly the words that you said, because again, there was a
There
problem with the
cannot be
calculation.
a state of dependent things in reality.
Yeah.
No.
There
So
cannot
don't
be
say
a state of affairs where every single thing is
No, I didn't
dependent.
say that either.
Okay, what did you exactly say?
I said there cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist.
That would, okay, so how is that different from what I'm
No, I said
saying? I don't need to. I'm again, because the content of the statement is what's
You don't need to.
important.
You're getting it wrong
Yeah,
each
because
time.
because I'm getting what you exactly are saying wrong, but
That's
the
what
actual
you've got to deal with,
content
though.
of the
No, but
statement
in
is
some way it's
important.
still
Hold on.
I don't care.
It's like saying 2 plus 2 and 4 are different things. They're the same thing, right? If you articulate it the same, then the articulation is the same.
I don't agree. I
Right.
think that I
You
want my
don't agree.
articulation to be dealt with.
Okay. Just repeat it one more time, so then we can all be clear.
There cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist.
Okay, there cannot be a state of affairs
Only
where
dependent
only
things.
dependent
Yeah.
things exist.
Yep.
Right. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, because believe it.
That's PSR. That's PSR. You just done it. You just done it. You just did PSR. You just used. That's a sufficient reason.
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
Is there a reason why this postulate is true?
Are you asking me to justify my premise?
No, I'm asking you if there is
you asking
a
me to
reason why this postulate is true.
Are you with me here? Are you listening?
I'm very much with you. I'm here.
I
I'm
totally agree with you on
Yeah.
the fact
Yeah.
that there's a great flesh that joins what I am saying with the principle of sufficient reason spoken about by Gottfried Leibniz. I understand that, and I think everybody understands that. The Academy understands that.
If I may
But
touch on
let
this
me
point
finish.
though,
But
because
the
there's
Academy,
something very
excuse
important.
me, the Academy also understands the distinction between these arguments. That's why they name them different things in all languages that have been articulated in. I'm saying that, for example, if you have a peer-reviewed paper in the Philosophy of Religion journal, right, which talks about the principle of sufficient reason, it's not seen as synonymous with an idea of the imkan or the burhan by Ibn Sina or whatever.
I agree.
Okay,
There's a
great.
distinction
So
between,
all I'm saying is,
so there's a distinction between a causal principle, which
Yeah.
some arguments employ, and in the PSR.
You're-
in
you're-
all arguments,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
PSR is used, but not in all arguments, the causal principle.
you're not
So
understanding.
I don't have to ask you for a causal principle.
Have you read monadology?
No, I don't have to read it. No.
I'm not telling you whether you have to read it
Because-
or not.
no,
I'm
no,
asking you a question whether you
the
have
point-
read
the
it.
point is, let's
have
say-
you read monadology? Have you read it?
No, I don't need.
Okay, so you're talking about something you have no knowledge of.
No, I'm talking about something that needs to be. Hold on. The problem is this: when you
What
are
are you
using
talking
certain,
about?
if I may finish, please, thank you. So when we are using certain languages, right? When we're using certain language, the PSR is a term that started with Leibniz, for example, when he uses certain terms to establish in his academia in Germany. He also makes.
Leibniz.
Gottfried, yeah, Gottfried.
Okay.
So Gottfried makes certain like emendations in his work, probably around like let's say 10 years before he died, where he talks
you
about
haven't
like
read his
PSR.
book, so you don't know
I
what he
haven't.
does.
I haven't read that specific part of his
That's why
magnum
he
opus.
articulates the
I'm
argument.
talking about his letters.
We're talking about the principle.
Hold on. I'm talking about his letters.
No, but you don't know his argument then.
No, I'm talking about his
How
letters
can
that
you
he
tell
makes
me about-
afterwards,
No,
right?
but you're articulating an argument, you haven't even read the book.
I'm articulating an argument that stems even beyond the book, because the principle of sufficient reason,
This is
even
beyond-
if coined,
this is kind of beyond you, kind of.
even coined by Leibniz, you and I will both agree that academics can still use the PSR, even if they haven't read specifically the magnum opus
but
of Leibniz.
you're not
Now,
arguing my argument.
the argument that you're making
okay,
is that you can
well,
make
what's
a
my
postulate without the PSR.
Okay,
That's the
what-
postulate that you made.
Listen to
That's
me.
the postulate you
I
made.
didn't say that.
Okay.
Okay, can I just...
No, you said it's bereft. You said it's bereft of the PSR. That's what he said the entire time.
Okay, well, let me explain maybe...
Yeah, what bereft means. That's what I said before.
Let me cross purposes. Maybe you don't understand. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Maybe it's my fault. I'll take responsibility for my actions, yeah?
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me make it clear again.
Go on.
I'm saying, yes, I sympathize very, very clearly, academically, with the ideas of the PSR. I don't necessarily even disagree with it. Strong versions of it. No problem.
But that would entail
That's a
modal
modal
collapse. That's the argument that he's making.
All
Yeah.
Like literally all academics have accepted.
Even the SCP entry that's recently been written.
I haven't finished what I've just said. I don't necessarily even disagree with it.
Okay.
However,
Sorry.
I'm not making the argument. My argument, if you want to deal with it, you can. If you don't, I don't want to waste your time. I honestly, it's as follows. Excuse me. My argument is as follows. If you want to deal with it, you can. You can talk about the PSR. We all know now you haven't read the book of
I didn't have to read the
so
magnum
excuse
opus.
me, you
I
have
can
not
read
read
things about the PSR.
monadology. It's like talking about the...
That's
Islam,
hold on.
Quran.
That's a bit fallacious.
No, it's not.
Me
You
not
haven't read it.
reading one specific
It's
book
okay.
that starts the arguments for the PSR does
No,
not mean that I
it's
can't
the
understand the
key.
PSR.
It's
For
like
example,
talking about why.
if you haven't read Aquinas'
Quran.
commentary on the
Yeah, I'm not
sentences,
gonna take
that
you
doesn't
serious.
mean that you haven't understood
I get
Aquinas.
it,
That
but
just means that you haven't read one of his magnum
I
opus.
understand what you're saying.
Right.
But
So
with due respect,
again,
I
with due
can't
respect-
take you seriously if you haven't read the primary text.
Again, the primary. Hold on. There's no
Primary.
There's no primary text
one
for
of
a
the primary
logical
texts.
principle. It's like saying, oh, because you haven't read.
There is
Okay,
actually,
okay.
yeah.
So I'll give you a comparable example. If you haven't read the prior analytics, you cannot talk about the laws of identity. Of course not.
No, I'm not saying
Right,
that.
right.
I'm just saying
That's
that I'm
exactly
not
what you're
gonna-
saying. You said that you can't take me
You're-
seriously because I haven't read
you're-
this specific
you're
book.
bringing-
That's false.
Okay, listen, excuse
It's a
me.
false argument.
It's not an argument. I'm just giving out.
Yeah, that's false. Sorry, it's a false opinion. I should say. It's
is
a really
it a
bad.
false opinion?
It's a
It's
bad
an
opinion.
opinion.
Yeah, people
It's
can
a
have
bad
bad opinions. It's a bad opinion.
Okay, excuse
Yeah, I
me.
mean by false I mean bad. It's
Okay,
a derivative.
Whatever.
Yeah.
All
What do you mean
I'm
whatever? That's my opinion too, right?
Okay, well, your opinion is fine.
That's good. Right, and I agree and I accept that. That's good.
Excellent. What I'm saying to you is this. Instead of talking about a PSR,
Yeah.
I have an argument I'm putting forward today.
Yeah.
Since you guys are trying to be analytic philosophers by the looks of it.
I'm not an analytic philosopher.
I'm a continental.
Oh,
that's
continental philosopher, something like that. Okay.
Do you know what
So-
continental philosophy is?
Yes, I do. It's kind of like the difference between there's two main schools of thought in the Western academia. By the way, what is your credentials for you to be asking me this question?
I'm just asking. I'm just a person in the park.
Okay, yeah. Continental philosophy, like Nietzsche, for example, would represent the school of thought where it's more about subjective
But
experience.
what is
more
that?
about subjective experiences where demonstrative proof and using valid argumentation is not at the forum.
But doesn't really tell me the distinction between.
Yeah,
I mean,
continental
there's
philosophy.
different
Because like, even
kind of-
analytic philosophers use the same thing,
No
right?
problem,
Like that's
no
not really a
problem. But
definition.
Most schools of
So
thought here in the West, for example, they're
Yeah.
analytic philosophy schools. You guys are undergraduates, right?
Oh no, I don't go uni.
Yeah.
You don't go uni, no problem. It's not it's not a prerequisite. What I'm saying to you is as follows. Go to the second point. I have an argument to make. I don't know why you put your sunglasses on all of a sudden.
because I can't hold them anymore.
Okay, no problem. What I'm saying to you is as follows.
That wasn't his reason.
Question is, I have a postulation to make.
Yeah, we've got
It's
that.
not. I agree with you. There's some aspect of the PSR which is there. I agree. Totally. Yes. I totally
that's
agree.
great.
It's not the same articulation. That's what I'm saying. It's not the same argument.
I don't
Yeah.
disagree.
No one's
but-
disagreeing
Perfect,
that like
it's
the
semantics.
I don't
articulation.
disagree that the arguments are identical.
They're not
I'm just
identical.
saying, given that you've made a postulation,
Yeah.
There
is
has
there
to be a reason why.
as to why that postulation is true.
What we're saying
rather
is,
than not
what
true.
we're saying is this: is that
PSR
whenever
is
anyone makes a
construct-
postulate, they have to use the PSR.
All
That's
right,
what we're
so
saying.
Are you? Is there a reason for that?
Is there a reason for that?
Yeah. What's the reason?
Yeah, because of the impossibility of the contrary.
Okay. So
Let's
you,
say
you
that.
Take, you
I'm
accept-
not denying the
fine, fine.
PSR.
Yeah, we're not denying that, but what
Yeah,
we're saying
fine,
is,
fine.
well,
Well,
if I
well,
could just clarify my
yeah,
point,
of
right?
course,
Yeah,
of course.
thank you. Well, and just to clarify for every single person here, including yourself, what I'm saying to you and what he's saying to you is that anyone that makes any postulation, any argument at all, you have to use the PSR to some degree.
Strong version.
Either a strong or weak version. That's what he's saying to you.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
Amen. Great. Thank you.
I don't disagree with
But
that.
are you okay? So now we have to go. What version are you using?
No.
Using the strong
I'm
one?
not using that though. That's
You just.
no.
You said that in your argument you've used some form of the PSR, so either you're using the strong form or the weak form. That's what we're saying.
There's only two options.
I know you guys have come with a PSR. I'm not defending the
I didn't.
PSR.
I just came randomly,
No, you-
and then
no,
I got
you gave us
cameras
all-
on.
You spoke to me about PSR,
No,
bro.
you gave an
came out and spoke to me about PSR, and then you talk about modal logic S5. Then
I didn't mention S5.
No one said that's fine.
excuse me, what is modal logic? Well, how's it represented?
I didn't mention anything about
Okay.
S5. I spoke
Wait,
about
hold on.
I spoke about the K
Modal-
axiom.
excuse me,
I
hold on.
spoke about the K axiom.
Modal
and the
logic
distribution
is abbreviated as S5.
No. There are different systems in modal logic.
Modal
I guess
logic
there
There are
is
different
S5.
systems. There's
Modal
S4,
logic is
there's S5
yeah, S4
modal
is
logic.
5.
There's a T axiom.
Except-
So then modal logic wouldn't just be S5 then,
It's
would
not
it?
just
S4 and S5, yes,
because
true.
there's controversy.
But you mentioned S5 in particular. You were talking about
I did not mention S5.
No, but you were talking about the K axiom.
Yeah, the K axiom.
That's an S5.
No. The K axiom is presupposed in S5, but
Yes,
the K
fine.
axiom is on the first.
Whatever,
initial
man,
axiom.
whatever. You're wasting my time.
So then it's
Yours.
not just
It's
S5
just
then, is
S5.
it?
S4 and S5.
It's not really.
So,
No.
here's the point.
No.
Look,
Let me just finish with this guy.
S4 sounds.
Okay, excuse me. With
Yeah.
due respect, you're not qualified
doesn't-
and you're not read. So here's the point.
That's not an
that's not
argument.
an
That's not an argument. Look. Oh, sorry.
I'm not
Look. That's an argument from authority. I could say that an 11-year-old doesn't know anything about high school, but they could give me the same arguments. It wouldn't
It's
matter.
objective fact.
Okay, you have again. I can say that I have never read a single book in my life. It wouldn't
Objective
matter.
fact.
That's an argument from authority.
Objective fact.
That doesn't matter.
I don't care. I'm making it.
Okay, so you're making a fallacious argument then.
No,
That's fine.
no,
So a qualified
no,
person is
I'm not
making a
making
fallacious
an
argument.
argument. It's
That
not.
makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense.
It's not
Come
an
on.
argument. It's not an argument.
Come on. Look, we got to start. Hold on.
Can't we do it?
It's fine. We got to start again. Saying that I'm not qualified is not an argument. We all know
care,
this.
I don't care.
Right. So you don't care that it's not
don't
about
care.
that's a bad
I'm not
argument.
making-
That's fine
it's
by
not an
you.
argument.
I know.
not
You're
an
saying
argument.
You're saying
making an argument.
You're saying
I'm
okay.
simply telling
You're
you
saying
you're
I'm not qualified. Right.
That's true or false?
That's poisoning the
Is it
well.
true or
That's
false?
poisoning the
Is it true or
well.
false?
I haven't given any credentials.
true or
I don't need to.
Is it true or false?
I don't need to.
Is it true or false?
I'm not going to verify the claim.
Is it true or
I'm not going to
false?
verify
Is
it.
it true or
I don't need to
false?
verify
Is it
it.
true or false? You already
We
did.
don't need to verify
You
it.
haven't read the book. You haven't read the book that you're.
Yeah, because we're not studying the history of Gottfried Leibniz. We're looking at the PSR as a basic principle, and we know that, and that's okay.
You're not tested. You're not
That's
tested.
fine. I'm not
Here's the
testing.
thing.
What? Wait,
Second-
hold
you're
on.
not tested.
I'm not
Second
testing.
point,
What?
okay, you're not tested
That's
academically.
not
Second point.
something that needs to be brought up in discussion at all.
I'm making the point.
Exactly,
I'm
like
making
making
the
the
point.
You're making an argument,
I'm making
which
the
is
point.
wrong because your argument.
How do you know?
You're making an argument that's wrong.
You're a layman.
That doesn't matter.
You're a layman.
Okay,
Okay, second
I'm a
point.
layman, but your
Second
argument's
That's not an argument. Just saying that you're a layman is not an argument, and you know
Your
this.
argument
Okay, let me
entails
make
that
my
God
argument.
hasn't got any.
My argument is
That's
as follows.
anything in
My
terms of
argument
this.
is as follows. My argument is as follows. Do you want to deal with it or do you want to run away?
Let's deal with it.
Okay,
Deal with it.
no one's running away. You
Okay,
keep trying
so
to
my
say that
argument
you're
is-
qualified and we're not. That's
I didn't
not
say I'm
supposed to be
qualified at
something.
all.
Look, let's
Okay,
just
are
deal
you
with the
qualified?
premise of
No, you're asking me a question.
I'm asking you if you're
I
qualified.
don't want to verify.
You don't want to verify. Then that's fine. Neither do I need to. That's what I did. That's what I did. That's what I did. That's what I did. And that's great. So then hold on. So then it's one unverified person with another unverified person having a conversation. We agree on that.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah. You want to show your hands?
Absolutely. There you go. So now that we've done it, let's get the postulate again,
Okay,
right?
let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go on.
My postulation is as follows.
Yeah.
My postulation is
Yeah, go on. Oh, pins and needles.
you cannot have a state of affairs. I'm telling you this because this is my PhD thesis.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, that's completely fine.
And anyway, this is how I put
Where's
it.
your PhD
What are you
thesis?
laughing at?
I'm just saying.
It doesn't really matter. That's what I'm saying.
No, but let them have their chance.
They do this all the time, though.
I know, but let them
You've
have
never
their
seen
chance.
me before.
Let them have their chance. This is my PhD thesis, been peer reviewed.
That's great.
Many people have seen it.
Yeah,
and I want to see if you guys have a chance at defending it, because it's been through a peer review process.
Yeah, that's fine.
So let me see if you can answer it, because I don't want to waste my time and yours. I have a chapter of my dissertation, my thesis, my 3-year dissertation.
That's great.
Which is about Gottfried Leibniz, where I had to look at monadology and all that stuff. And I have a separate chapter about Ghazali's argument. I have a separate chapter about Avicenna's argument. I have a chapter, and all of them are different forms of the contingency argument.
True.
At no point in my academic career did anybody tell me, actually, you're mentioning the PSI everywhere here. You might as well just do what you want. I've spoken to academics at the highest level. With all due respect, you guys aren't qualified. I spoke to people at the highest level.
Okay, that's great.
I
That's
don't
not the point
care.
we're making.
I spoke to, and all of them told me this is different from this, it's different from this, it's a different chapter.
That's not the point that you're making.
Problem.
I told you there's a
People can
distinction.
take your view or they can take the view of the academics. No problem.
That's not a distinction. They can
No
take
problem.
either the
No
view that you're doing or the view that you're
Okay.
proposing.
My
And the view
question
that you're
is-
proposing
Okay.
necessitates PSR
You're
to be
wasting my
explaining
time. I'm
that.
going to give you my argument. My argument
No
is
one's
as
wasting your time.
This is
We're
the
just
argument of my
clarifying a point.
dissertation. That's why I've been able to say it with great fluidity. And I've been repeating it, and you haven't responded to it.
We've responded multiple times. And in fact, hold on. No, it's fine. So this is the point. So you then, okay, so either you repeated the argument multiple times
Do you
or
want
you
me to say it
haven't
again?
said
Do you
it.
want me to say it
So, okay, either you've repeated the argument multiple
Do you want
times
me to say it
or
again?
you haven't said it.
Do you want me to
So
say it again?
when we are
What is the
addressing your point,
argument?
hold on, hold on, I'm addressing the statements that you made
So what's my
before,
argument?
which was about your PhD thesis. I'm just
What's my
gonna finish
argument?
the argument that's gonna be happening now. So when it comes to the same academics that review your paper, they, in their reviews of your paper, because I'm sure you've received reviews, obviously there are certain academics, postgrads that will help you with the paper as well when you're writing it, because you've been writing it for 3 years. These same individuals will tell you ways that you can improve the paper or ways that you can make your
Are you
argument
giving me
more
academic
forceful.
advice now?
I'm not giving you academic
So
advice.
what-
I'm just
what are you
telling you the
talking about?
process. That has nothing to do with it.
I don't need to know the
What I'm
process,
talking
I'm
about,
not qualified.
what I'm talking about specifically is that
How
even
am I
those
taking the
same
process
people that are reviewing your work,
What about
the
it?
same people that are reviewing your work, right?
Yeah.
They will at least accept in part that these different contingency arguments, what
saying-
underlies them is the PSR. Now they don't
no,
explicitly
they-
refer
that's
to the
just-
PSR.
That's just true.
That's just true for contingency arguments in general, and we know that.
There's going to be a distinction in a causal principle, which contingent argument is not.
But specifically, metaphysically for the PSR, doesn't mean.
Okay, I
But
know
the
you.
PSR is going to be presupposed in all of
Let me-
Right, that's
All
what we're
so
saying.
You're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about PSR. Let me give you my argument.
Okay.
My articulation. If you want to deal with it, you can. If you don't,
We
everyone's
can.
going to see that you haven't. Here's the point.
you
There cannot
can
be a state of affairs where only dependent things can exist.
Is there a
Now-
reason why that's true?
No, I'm not asking is the reason or not. That's my question. Go ahead.
That's not a question.
That's my postulation. Do you want to respond
Right.
to it?
Okay, so
Do you agree or disagree?
I wanna
disagree-
respond
do
to
you-
the.
do you
I
agree or
want to
disagree?
respond to the postulate. So if I'm gonna respond to the postulate,
Do you agree or disagree
then I'm
with
gonna
it?
respond to it in this
But do
way.
you agree or disagree
Okay.
with it?
I'm just gonna use Hitchens razor.
Do you agree or disagree with it?
I'm gonna use Hitchens razor.
Do you agree or disagree?
I'm going to use
see
Hitchens
any- I don't
razor.
see
Do you agree or disagree?
I don't see really any evidence to believe in this.
Oh, really?
Right? There's not not been a sufficient reason given.
Oh, really?
So when a sufficient reason is given, then I can agree or not.
agree.
Now I can tell you that the statement that you're saying is cognitive. We can agree there. The statement
So
has
do you
cognitive
agree or disagree
information.
with it?
I don't agree or disagree with it because there's not
Okay,
been a
so-
sufficient reason
Oh,
given.
you don't agree or disagree with it?
I can dismiss
So you're
it as
agnostic.
just that, a postulate.
No problem. So you're
I can dismiss it just as
so
a
you're
postulate.
ignorant of its truth.
I'm not saying I'm ignorant of its truth.
You're
I'm
ignorant.
saying I'm
That's
saying
what
that
you
there's
just
no
admitted.
sufficient
He
reason
doesn't
for
know.
that.
No.
No,
You're
no.
ignorant.
I'm saying this. Okay, you're using. Hold on. It seems to be the case that you're using certain buzzwords to sort of like
No, but
articulate
that's
a
what
point.
you just said.
Well, what I'm
You're
going to say,
ignorant.
What
You don't know if it's right or wrong.
I said is that
Are
I
you
can
ignorant?
use Hitchens razor.
Hold on.
I can just dismiss the claim
Hold
as
on.
a claim
No,
in
but
general.
dismiss everything.
I'm not saying that I'm dismissing the claim
I
as
can
false.
dismiss the claim
I'm not
that I
affirming the claim as
exist.
true.
You can dismiss that.
I can
Say
say-
exist, I dismiss that. I'm
Yeah,
asking a
you can
question.
dismiss that if there's no sufficient reason given, and there's going to be sufficient reasons given for your existence.
Okay, no problem. I'm asking a question.
Yeah, go on.
The proposition, there cannot be a state of affairs where
Yeah.
only dependent things exist.
Yeah.
You're saying you don't agree or
That
disagree.
proposition contingent.
No, I'm not asking questions. I'm asking you questions. I'm asking
It's
you questions.
it's either a contingent or a necessary
Do you agree or
proposition.
disagree? Do you agree or disagree?
It's either
Do you agree or
contingent
disagree?
or necessary
Do you agree or
proposition, my
disagree?
friend. That's what's going
Do you
on.
agree or disagree? Do you agree or disagree?
Given that it's either contingent or
Yeah.
necessary, then I can agree to one or the other.
Yeah.
Do you agree or disagree?
Is it
No, I'm not
contingent?
answering the question. I agree or disagree?
About your specific
Yeah,
questions?
agree or disagree?
I mean, I disagree.
Disagree?
Yeah, 'cause-
Why do you disagree?
Well, no. Then that means that he has to give a sufficient reason for his point. That's the point.
Why do you disagree?
Well, then
Hold
you
on,
just
hold on.
said that
Why do
you can make
disagree?
arguments without the
No,
PSR.
why do you disagree?
So he can
Why
just do the same
disagree?
thing.
I mean, he's not wrong about
Why
that.
do you disagree?
You can just say the same
Why
thing.
do you- I know
I
you,
don't have
it's
to
a
give a
double act.
sufficient reason.
Why do you disagree?
Well, look, first of all,
Why do you disagree?
I'll tell you why I disagree.
What's your sufficient reason?
My sufficient reason?
Yeah. What's it?
Well, you have such reasons too.
No, no, what's yours?
Well, look, there's a distinction first of all between.
Wait, no, then he just entered explosion.
Test the
then.
waters.
I've kind of.
Yeah, you've gone. He's entered explosion already. It's fine.
I know you're scared.
No one's.
You're scared.
In fact, hold on. In fact, hold on. That's fine.
Test the waters.
We're testing the waters.
Test the waters.
And for some reason, there seems to be like a visceral fear for just saying that it's terrorism.
Why is it wrong?
Why is it wrong? Together, it's fine.
Why is it wrong? No problem. Both of you together. But why is it wrong?
That's weird.
Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong?
Do you know what necessity?
No, don't ask me questions. You're unqualified. Why is it wrong?
That's gonna be the entitlement.
Tell me you're underqualified. Answer the question.
That's not a point to be made.
Same effect.
That's not an appeal to be made. It's just poisoning the world. It's just poisoning the world.
I like to poison it.
You like to poison the world, so you like to have dishonest arguments, and that's fine. And then you're basically being dishonest. Very good. It's right. Yeah, so you're being dishonest.
Now I'm asking a question.
That's fine.
Ask me. Why do you disagree with it? Test the waters.
Your argument,
Test the waters.
because that will entail something
How?
called a modal
How?
collapse.
How?
It's called a distribution
How?
axiom.
How?
The implication of A being necessary and implying that B.
What's A here? What's A in this analogy?
For anything that exists.
Anything that exists. Any contingent fact.
Well, hold on. I'm not saying anything. A contingent fact. That's not what I said in my argument.
But he's he's just giving the actual axiom. He's giving the actual axiom.
Look, you agree.
Use my articulation.
Look, the conclusion of your argument is that there exists a necessary cause, a necessary.
I haven't said that in my argument.
No, he said no. He didn't say that. No. He doesn't need to say it. He's saying that it's an implication. He's saying it's a necessary implication. That's what he's saying.
Both of you, come on.
He's saying it's a necessary implication. Brother, put your head together and actually answer the implications. That's the point.
No, you don't need to ask for that. My conclusion is as follows, or my postulation is as follows. There cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist. Test the waters. Tell me why it's wrong. You said it's wrong. Why is it wrong? Test the waters.
You understand you can have
Test the
contingency.
waters.
You understand you can have contingency
Why is
arguments.
it wrong?
You understand you can have contingency arguments under an atheistic.
I don't care about all that. Tell me why it's wrong.
Then you don't care about his reason. Then you don't care about his
Why is
reason.
it wrong? Why is
He's
it
giving
wrong?
the reason why.
No, he's not.
Yes, he
No,
is.
he's not.
What did he say? Well, then what did he say? Then what did he say? Then what did he say? Then what did he say?
Why is it wrong?
What did he say?
He said.
No, hold on. What did he say?
He said.
Perfectly.
Excuse me.
Atheistic, naturalistic account.
He said.
Sorry,
What?
What you just said. There cannot be. Look, you can have some necessary grounding, and it not be like an agent that caused like the reality to exist. You never said cause.
Wait, hold on. Exactly.
Exactly.
I never said that.
It doesn't matter.
I never said that.
Does it have to be cause?
Yeah, exactly. See, why you running? Why? It's true.
No one's running. Like your eyes bulge there, but he's just using a different
Test the
word.
waters.
saying it's a
Test the waters. Why is it the
Is there
case?
not a sufficient
No,
explanation?
you said no.
Is there any, no. I'm asking
Provide
you
your evidence.
Is there?
No,
is
you're not
there-
asking me
is
anything.
there-
I'm asking you a question.
See this shift
I
to the
said
burden
that
of
the
proof?
Yeah, the burden of proof.
You have a claim.
Test the
You have a
waters.
particular
Test the waters.
waters.
He's just saying test the waters, but again, like the point is that the actual
What's your
statement
argument?
itself is
What's
just
your
giving the
argument?
reason.
Claims all the time.
What's your argument? What's your argument?
You are the one presenting argument to me.
No,
You're
you
making
said
a
you know it's wrong.
postulation.
You said it's wrong. That's a statement of fact.
Does he have to give a sufficient reason why?
Yes. Go ahead.
So then why are you saying that he has to give a sufficient reason
Why
why?
don't you and I
Test the waters. Test the waters.
So I have to give a sufficient
Test the
reason,
waters.
you don't.
I don't mind. Go first.
So
You're saying it's wrong. Why is it wrong?
Wait, so you can deny?
Is it wrong? You said it's wrong though. You said it's wrong.
Wait.
Why is it wrong?
So the PSR
It must be wrong for a reason. Is it wrong for a reason?
Dismissed without evidence. We already said that Hitchens razor. That's why he ignored it.
What's the reason?
there
What's the
sufficient
reason it's
reason
wrong?
why the PSR can
Why
be
is the PSR wrong?
Is
Why
there
is it
some-
wrong?
I never. Whoa.
Sorry, not the
You're not
PSR.
even
Why is the
listening.
argument wrong?
Oh,
Why is the argument wrong?
Because your argument
Yeah,
holds
yeah.
a strong version of the PSR. And the
That's
strong
not a
version
reason
of
that's
the
wrong.
PSR Oh my.
Why is it wrong? What's your evidence it's wrong? Why is it wrong? Do you understand English? Why is it wrong?
Very well.
He's saying the reason why is
Why
because
is it
his
wrong?
argument
Reason
relies
why
on
it's
a
wrong.
certain
Go on,
version of the
yes.
PSR
Why it's
that
wrong,
gives
yeah.
certain implications. That's what he's trying
Why?
to say.
Why?
But he's just saying
Off the
why
ground.
repeatedly.
Why?
Because
That's not
it
really
results in a
going
modal
to-
collapse where
How?
nothing
How?
is
Show me how.
I'll show you
How?
how.
Yeah, exactly. That's an axiom. But we're saying that when you make the contingency argument, the contingency argument relies on the PSR.
It doesn't. You don't have to say the word contingency.
He's saying no.
Then you're not
What
dealing
the
with
hell?
argument.
You don't have to explicitly say the
No,
word.
okay.
That's what he's saying, yes.
So does he say language?
PSR is necessary.
Test the waters.
No, that's different. He's saying that in order to have a contingency argument in general, you have to use the PSR to some degree. Now, either you're going to use the strong version of the PSR or the weak version. Now, we're trying to see whether the strong version is going to entail modal collapse, which it does.
How does that refute
I'm
his
saying that
argument?
there cannot be a
His argument is that I'm going to just say a statement and I'm not going to give a sufficient reason.
Prove it. You said it's wrong. You said it's wrong. Why is it
Not
wrong?
every argument has
Why
to
is
have
it
a
wrong?
premise.
Why is it wrong?
The reason
Not every
why
argument
has
has
to
to have
there
a
is going to be
premise.
Example.
Yeah, but that's what he's doing.
There is
He's
going
not
to be
making a
sufficient
premise.
reason. That's
He's
why
making an argument based upon an
No,
assumption.
that's a postulate. He made a
There is
postulate.
sufficient reason for that.
That's not an argument.
For what?
An argument has a conclusion.
Not a sufficient reason.
But his argument has a conclusion.
No, his argument is just an
There must be a
assumption.
necessary being.
Either
That's not a conclusion in his argument. His argument is that there is not anything, there cannot be any state of
there is
affairs
not a
where
sufficient
there are
reason.
only contingent things.
Okay,
Sorry, only
if
dependent
there's a
things.
sufficient reason,
If
So
that
there is
and
a
you're holding the
conclusion.
strong
Right, that
PSR
means that he
reason,
has to make
the
that in
strong
another
PSR is going to
statement. It's
entail
not going to be in the
model
same statement.
collapse.
It's going to be another
The reason
statement.
why it's going to
So now you have two statements.
Because in virtue
No,
of
no,
the
it's
sufficient
connected
reason,
to that statement.
either
Right, which is
Therefore,
another.
there has to
So
be-
is it the same statement as the one before?
Oh, I see where you're coming from.
Right.
So you want one argument.
Yeah.
What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
What
What are you talking about?
You
I don't
can't
even
have
know
a
what you're
premise.
talking about.
Is that what you're saying?
I don't know.
I'm saying that when you make an argument, you have to have multiple
No,
premises.
Not necessarily.
Right, which is what you're saying.
I mean,
I have these
Right, so
discussions
give an
all the
argument
time.
that
I
doesn't
don't
have
ever
a
to have-
premise.
But you know what his argument is.
His argument is the opposite. I'm asking you for an
Every single
example.
time I've had a contingency argument,
An example of an argument that only has one premise.
They give me either the strong. Look, there's
What modal
there's a
collapse?
modal
He
collapse.
just
No, he gave a postulate.
How?
We got your man coming in.
How?
Okay, if you want
Who's
me to
that?
explain,
Yeah.
Look,
You know
out
what
in front of you.
Oh,
Explain
mad.
it in your words, in your language.
hold on.
Don't ask me about things. You're underqualified. Answer your own way.
That's not a point. Saying that you're underqualified isn't a
I'm
point.
an objective
You
fact.
should know.
Okay, we can grant it's an objective fact, but that has no relevance to the argument that's being made here.
Okay, we're talking about modal categories. What's a modal category? We're talking about modal categories.
What's modal collapse?
I just want to know that. Are you going to let him speak?
Well, he's asking him what's modal collapse.
Let him speak. Don't speak.
You're wasting your time. We spoke to him last week.
Really?
We supported. Wallahi, we spoke to him.
No.
Yeah, it's the book
I'm
answering
asking
my question.
He's saying modal collapse.
The same
Explain why you got modes. Yeah, you've got different modalities, right?
What modality
Okay,
you
so
use?
I've used the word dependency. That's
What
the only thing
modality are
I'm
you
not
using?
using contingency in necessity.
He said
modality
you
I'm not
using.
using those modalities.
What
I'm
mod-
not using
Do
them.
you know what modality is?
Yes, I am.
What's
I'm not using the language of
modality?
modality. I'm not using the language of
Remember
modality.
at
I'm
the
not using
start
the
when
language
this
of
guy
modality.
said,
I'm not
Google a
using. What is it
definition
you
of
tell me?
dependency?
And then it says
Why- why-
contingent in the
Contingent in the definition. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
What's modality?
Okay, so what's
modality?
I'm not using the modal categories. I'm using the word dependency.
But then define the term that you're using.
I'm using the word dependency.
You
I'm
said that there are different types of modalities. You've got to define the term. It's fine.
Look at him. You're aligned with somebody who's a disability.
I don't have hate. I don't care enough. Ali, you've talked to me. Ali, you've talked with me before. We've had a private conversation. I don't have hate, bro. We know this. Yeah, sure, but I don't have hate. Yeah, but I don't have hate.
You're aligned with someone who doesn't believe in God.
No, he's a theist. No, he's a theist. He's a theist. Wait, Rico, are you a theist? No, as in a theist, like a classical theist, in a sense. Yeah. Yeah, but remember when we talked about theism before, like before we came in with theism?
Atheist.
Yeah, atheist. Yeah, thank you.
And then the Christians are aligned with an atheist.
No, not an atheist. And he said that he's atheist. What the hell?
Why is it going to be
He just said, oh my god, he just said,
I'm not using the
Ali, he just said that he's atheist. He said that he's atheist.
Brother, let's deal with the atheist, then we'll talk.
No. He said he's atheist. Now I'm a classical theist. He's a different kind of theist. He's Hegelian.
I've spoken to this guy. He denies. He doesn't believe in God.
No. He denies, like, for example, he denies like personability. He denies miracles. I agree with that.
This guy a year ago.
Bro, this guy's my friend. Like I know him. Like I've spoken to him before. Like we have conversations. That's fine. But yeah, so for the argument, for the argument to be
should be on our side.
that's fine. But no, the point is this. No. The problem is he's making. The problem is like the side of truth is that he's making an argument that will entail modal collapse. So modal collapse is just.
All I'm saying is,
I know.
Why are you on his side?
Because he's saying the truth. I don't care about like who's what or what. I'm talking about the arguments themselves. That's why I cover my face, because what I say is more important than who I am.
I respect that.
Right. I know. And you mocked me last time for it though, but that's fine.
I'm sorry.
And that's fine. But Ali, but here's the point. When we talk about modal collapse, right? Say for example,
I don't know. Big words.
okay. Really simply, imagine an 11-year-old girl wrote like everything, wrote great mathematical theory, right? That wouldn't disqualify her from what she's saying is true. Just because she's 11 doesn't mean that the content that she's saying is wrong.
I don't know. I'm not versed in
I know, but what he's doing is every single time he makes an argument, he's saying you're not qualified. That's not an argument. But what he's doing is he knows that everyone else in the audience is going to be like, oh, he's talking to an unqualified person, so we don't have to take him seriously. That's the point.
Possibilities, impossibilities.
Yeah, you don't have to. But that's an appeal to authority. That's appeal to authority. I don't need to be qualified to say something true. That's the point. And you agree with that? Yeah. Thank you.
For example, like narrowly minded.
Do you want to go over there? Do you want to go over there and discuss with me?
You could have the.
What modal collapse are you talking about? What do you mean by
I don't know what Hijab is doing. He's just doing first collapse.
No, I want to ask you. What do you mean by modal collapse?
Why does the burden keep shifting?
Why is the burden keep shifting?
Oh my gosh! Wow.
What is modal collapse? What do you mean by modal collapse? What do you mean by modal collapse?
A modal collapse
Yes.
is where the modal predicates of some modal.
Like what? Give me an example of which one.
So let's say, for example, necessity.
Yeah, necessity. Yes.
contingency,
Yeah, which I just mentioned.
possibility,
I just mentioned that.
possibility
I just mentioned
that
those.
they result.
It just mentioned those.
You
Yeah.
don't- please,
Yeah,
you
I
don't
just mentioned those.
Let him finish. Let him finish, please. Yeah.
Yeah,
go on.
yeah.
What happens is in a modal collapse,
Yeah.
one of the modal properties, one of the modal predicates, collapses into all things. So when,
Show me how. No, let him go.
He's
Let me
giving
go.
a definition. He's giving a definition.
Stop speaking. You
Let him
don't know.
That's not a proof. That's a definition.
Why getting rid of him?
That's not a proof. That's a
Why getting rid of
definition.
him?
What are you talking
Why getting
about?
rid of him for? Why getting rid of him for?
Because he said prove the definition. No. Hijab. Because he said no. Because he said prove the definition.
You're both coming in. He's coming in.
Yeah. But he said no. But he said prove it. No. Because he said prove
You're
it.
both coming in. You're
Yeah, but no, because he
He's
said.
not doing that.
When did I disrespect you?
Bruv, you're both coming in. It's 2-on-1. He came in. He said a few
So how is
words.
that disrespectful?
No. But he's coming in.
You said I was disrespectful. How was I?
He's coming in.
No. We get that point. We're saying how was I disrespectful?
So all I'm saying is that he's coming in.
Okay,
and
great.
you're shouting
But how
at
was I
him.
disrespectful?
Because you're both coming in and talking out over each other.
So how was I disrespectful towards you? I didn't show disrespect towards you.
That modality is modal predicates. You're wrong about that.
No, I'm not
You're
saying
wrong
that.
about that.
I said that. No.
I asked you what
Modality.
modality is.
What is modality?
Modality.
What is it?
Modality are different views in which you can say something is or is not possible. Now look, there are going to be loads of different ways.
How's that going to be expressed? Give me an example of modality.
So
Go.
look, you can
Uniforms
use David
exist.
Lewis's modality, for example.
Say again?
David Lewis's modality. And he's going to say, for example, David Lewis.
Yes.
Big
So
he's going to say, for example, that all possible worlds are actually existing
Yes, okay.
at the same time.
No, but that's
And he's
modal
gonna-
realism.
Hold on.
That's
I know,
modal
I know.
realism.
And under, and
No, you're wrong, by the way.
Hold on.
He's giving one type of modality.
So it's possibly a modality.
No, that's a modal predicate.
So what? So what you say
We
modal collapse?
predicate-
When you say modal collapse, what do you mean?
A modal collapse is where we have a modal system
Yes.
and it collapses into
How?
one modal
Give me an
predicate.
example how. Give me an example.
So your argument is
No, give me an example.
Your argument.
Show me how.
Your argument.
Show me how.
So your
What's
argument.
working out?
Okay, that's
Use
fine.
it with the existence of
Show
possible
me how.
worlds. So like all possible worlds just collapse into one.
Let him say it.
So look, let's say for example we have a possible world in which let's say we have a necessary being, and the necessary being has an essential property about it. Let's
Necessity.
say let's say
Yeah,
it's
fine.
necessity.
Yeah.
Now whatever the essential property about the necessary being
Yep.
explains is going to entail what it explains. That's called the distribution axiom. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's not the argument.
Hold on.
That's not the argument.
Oh my! You asked me to give you an example. I'm giving you an
Yeah,
example.
but that's not how I'm
Hold
articulating
on.
the argument.
You've asked me to give you an example. I'm
Yeah, but
giving
that's not how I articulate
You've
the
asked me
argument.
to give you an example.
Oh,
I'm giving
excellent.
you an
So
example.
tell me how that applies to my argument.
So the reason why I pass your argument.
Yeah, go on
is
now.
because
Now this way. Yeah.
You believe
Yeah.
in an agency.
I didn't say that in
God.
argument.
It doesn't matter.
No, but that's you're talking about my beliefs. You're talking about my beliefs. You're talking about my beliefs.
He's saying
The
that
argument
you
is.
interpret
No, hold on.
Okay,
So tell me how that applies to my argument. Go.
Okay.
Test the waters. Test the waters.
Just repeating
waters.
test the waters doesn't mean anything.
Test the waters. Test the waters. Tell me how it applies. Test the waters. Go.
I'm not scared. I'm not scared at all.
Go, test
I'm not
it.
scared at all.
Test it.
I'm not scared at all.
Test the waters.
Your argument is fallacious.
Tell me how.
It's cool.
How?
Look, is there a sufficient reason as to why you're postulating?
You're asking me questions now. You're asking me questions now. Tell me now. Why is it
This is
fallacious?
why I'm testing you.
No,
This is
test the
how-
waters now. Tell
I
me
have
why
to
it's
ask you a
wrong.
question
Test the waters.
To show how you're,
Test the waters.
To show how you're an argument.
Tell me why is it modal collapse? Why is it modal collapse?
Because
Tell me
it's
now.
going to collapse into a view
What's my
called
argument? What's my argument?
necessitarianism.
What's my
Your
argument?
first,
What's
so
my-
you made a posture.
Wait, hold on.
You made a posture.
Necessitarianism is not incoherent.
It's not incoherent.
It's not incoherent.
It's not
It's
incoherent.
not incoherent.
Okay, so you believe.
It's not incoherent.
So you understand that necessitarianism is, and in all possible worlds,
Yeah.
Same
God
thing.
had to have created the world.
Yeah, it's not incoherent. It's not logically incoherent.
No, hold on.
It's not logically incoherent, is it?
To your view. To
Okay,
your view.
how is it contradictory?
To your view.
How is it contradictory?
Because God has free will.
I don't believe.
God has free will.
I don't believe necessarily. I'm saying how.
Does God have
No,
free
no.
will?
Now you're going
Does God have
theology.
free will?
I'm saying
Does God have
philosophy.
free will?
That's theology.
Does God have
That's
free will?
theology.
God does
That's
God have free
theology.
will?
That's
This
theology.
is-
That's philosophy.
I'm
That's
saying
This is an entailment of your view that
That's
you're
theology.
reject.
You're going to religion.
This is
You're
an
going to
entailment of your
religion.
view that you're going to reject.
I don't care.
Well, then,
You're-
I
You don't care about the
No,
rejection
what
then. That
hell?
doesn't
saying-
mean anything.
Hold on,
then.
hold on.
I'm not even engaging my
Test the waters. My postulation was as follows. There cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things
The
exist.
reason why
is it wrong?
Because
Why?
it entails
Why?
a modal collapse
How?
of necessity.
How? Tell me how.
Because in the argument,
Yeah?
the thing that's going to sufficiently explain
Yeah.
the contingent fact,
Go ahead.
right, is going to explain it either in virtue of an essential feature or a contingent feature. If it's a contingent feature, it's going to rely
in
on
virtue of what?
something
In
else,
virtue of what?
In virtue of an essential feature.
Essential feature of what?
Or a contingent feature.
Essential feature of what?
The explanation.
What do you mean?
Okay,
How? Give me an
random.
example of that.
So, explanandum. So look, you're going to say now there's going to be sufficient reason that is going to explain the reason why the postulation even obtains. Now look,
How?
either, it's very simple, and it's contrastive. Either the thing is true or the thing is not true. You're saying the thing is true. Look, hold on.
You're saying it's not true, so why is it not true though? You're saying it's not true, why is it not true?
I haven't said it's not true.
You're
Yeah, I'm
trying
saying
to
it's
pick
true.
out certain
Can you
words
stop?
that he's using. Let him finish the
Tell me why
argument.
it's wrong.
You need to
Tell me why it's
Calm
wrong.
down.
You gotta let him finish. You gotta let him finish the argument, man. We can say the same thing about you. We can say the same thing about you as well, and we can look around and do words as well. It doesn't mean
I
anything.
don't care, bro.
That's fine, but he's making an argument.
We don't care, man. Let's stay the hell out of it, man. Why are you butting
If it's
everything?
contingent,
No, I was already in
we
there.
already agreed.
I was
it's
already
not going
the
to sufficiently
Same way you're here.
explain the reason
It's alright, man. Look, you can just stay calm. Just stay calm. So telling me to shut is not calm. It's alright, man. Stay calm. Stay calm. Look, it's fine. Look. Bro, stay calm, please. Look,
You're a
relax.
Christian.
Relax, man. It doesn't
You should be on
matter.
our side.
Hold on. I'm not a clown, man. It's fine. Calm down. It's fine. Calm down.
Flipping jokers.
You can call me a joker. It doesn't matter, bro.
Atheist against a Muslim.
Jesus Christ, because the argument itself is false.
But the argument's a bad argument, so it doesn't matter who.
You and your bad arguments back last week. You got rinsed by Sabuni, clown. You got rinsed, man.
You didn't even understand half the conversation.
You don't even know. You have no idea what logic is. How can you even claim to know?
Learn a lesson.
Wait, you don't even understand half of the conversation. What the heck?
What's modality? What's modal logic? Name me one modal.
Did I say I know?
Name me one modal.
I don't
So
know.
how can he say that he got rinsed if you don't understand the content?
I'm talking about Sabuni last week.
But you don't understand the stuff that he was saying.
No one's running away. No one's running away.
He's running away, bro.
I just don't like the fact that he's saying he knows more things about people that obviously know more.
Who cares, bro?
It doesn't matter.
Who cares? You don't like that? Who cares? You do what you like. Look, I'm asking a question. The postulation is, excuse me.
You asked me to finish my argument.
No, let me just say one thing and then you can say.
You're gonna be speaking?
Let me say one thing, you can say what you want. Let me say one
Is
thing
it
and
gonna be
you can...
important to the debate?
Can I say one thing?
It's gonna be important.
Can I say one thing?
You can, if it's gonna
It'll
be
take 10
important.
seconds.
Go ahead.
My postulation is that there
crazy.
cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist.
Is there
You said that-
sufficient
excuse
reason
me,
as to-
excuse me.
No, he's saying there's none.
You said
there is.
that's
There isn't.
You
Yeah.
you said
there's
that.
none in PSR.
Am I gonna speak? Am I gonna speak? You said that's wrong. Why is it wrong? You said it's modal collapse. Why is it modal collapse?
Okay, now you're correct. Now you said what I said. I said it tells a modal collapse.
said you disagree.
Never said
You
it's
did-
wrong.
you did say you disagree.
I
Go
said I
on.
disagree with the argument.
Yeah, go on.
because you're employing what's
So
called
why
a
is the modal
strong
collapse? Why is the
version
modal
of the
collapse?
You let me finish?
Yeah, he's saying it's because there is a version of the PSR you're using.
Look, the weak.
Show me how.
Show me how you're using a version of the PSR.
Show me why it collapses. Why is the modal collapse? Why?
Yeah.
Let him say
it's
his
called
thing.
religious language.
Why is there?
You can say that.
Why is there modal collapse? Let him say why is modal collapse. Let him say. Let him say why is the modal collapse. He's trying to run from it. Why is there modal collapse? Why is there a modal collapse? You talked about modalities. You said I don't know what modalities are. Then you talk about what is it, David Lewis's modal realism. I've read his books. I know he died in 1965 or whatever.
That's a great fact. You know when he died,
I
but
know
it doesn't matter.
he's acclaimed as one of the leading philosophers of the 20th
Let me
century.
make this very clear.
Excuse me. I've read his stuff. I know what he's talking about. I understand the distinction between what do you call it, possible worlds, instrumentalism, and realism, and what his position is. I know what you're talking about. Listen.
I'm not talking about David Lewis's
I know,
version.
no, but you mentioned it. But, so I'm just saying,
But he's not talking about
I
it
know,
specifically.
but excuse me.
Oh my gosh.
All I'm saying, I'm asking you a question now.
Yeah.
You made a claim, bro. Your claim
You
was,
made
You made the
I know I
postulate.
did.
You made
I
the
know
claim.
I did, but I'm asking you to disprove
Yeah,
it.
and I'm trying to explain
You
it
said
to
this.
you,
I said,
and you're not trying to let me speak.
let me finish. You said it
Sorry,
entails
sorry.
my argument, that the postulation that there cannot be a state of affairs where all dependent. There cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist. You said this argument entails modal collapse. How?
Because it presupposes.
It doesn't use the language of modality.
It doesn't matter. You're presupposing the strong
Well, honestly,
version of the PSR.
you're wasting my time.
If you're not well read on the contingency argument, that's just not my fault.
I'm doing a PhD on it, man.
That's
Doesn't
not
mean
my
that you
fault.
understand it.
I got a bloody thing from it, bro. Do you wanna
Wait,
see
no.
something?
You did a postgrad at Oxford. You're not an undergrad.
I got a postgrad in Oxford.
Yeah, you did a postgrad.
Don't tell me I'm not qualified, bro.
Bro, brother,
guys
you
haven't
did.
even got a degree, man.
Brother, anyone can get. Anyone can get a postgrad at
Don't do it.
Oxford.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I will.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I will in 3 years. I will in 3 years. Yes. I will in 3 years.
To me, like I'm your younger, bro.
I'm gonna do a postgrad in Oxford in 3 years. It's fine. That's not an
Speak
issue.
to me with
How can
respect.
you,
Speak to me with respect. Remember one thing. I've been peer reviewed.
That does not matter in any sense whatsoever.
Underqualified.
You're a layperson.
Not
You can't make this up.
I'm not.
A person who believes in God helping an atheist against a Muslim.
You're telling me I'm dumb.
Because what he's saying is wrong.
This is how strong Islam is. They have to come together.
Ask a question. You're saying
They have to give good
That's not an argument, Ali. That's not an argument, bro.
question.
Against Muslims.
Ask a question. My question is, why is the modal collapse?
You guys are jokers, man.
Why is the modal collapse?
Just walk
Do
for
you
some of it.
affirm the strong?
Why is the modal collapse? Answer the question, man.
Go through both the strong and the weak.
Answer.
Then it
He's
doesn't
aiding the
matter.
Christians.
Why is the modal collapse?
Because they
Why is the modal
atheist.
collapse?
Okay, cool.
Do you know why?
Do I know why is
Why is the modal collapse?
Yeah, I can go.
Why
I can
is
go
my
through it.
argument? Why does it entail a modal collapse?
Because he's about to collapse.
So, yeah.
No, okay, let me explain.
go back
to
My
fine.
argument
If
is
I can
this.
get ample time to speak,
I'm
it's
not
fine.
even using the language of modality. That's how bad it is. I'm not using the word possibility. These predicates.
You said cannot.
You said cannot. You're saying it's something that cannot occur.
So then that means you're saying it's impossible.
So you're saying it's impossible.
That's modal language. You're using modal language. Oh my days. Okay.
I'm not saying entailment.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Accept it.
So you're using modal language. So what you were saying before was wrong.
No, I'm not using modal language.
Cannot is impossibility.
No,
that's modal language.
Yes, it
Cannot,
is.
no, cannot,
What does cannot mean?
What
does cannot mean?
No, let me explain then.
Yeah. What does cannot mean?
Cannot mean, so there's two kinds of impossibility. If you read any...
Alright, let him do it. Brother, let him do it.
You don't
Bro, let him do it.
don't act like this unless you're losing. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Brother, there's no winning or losing. What you're saying is wrong. Continue.
Okay, brother, you're not in a position to judge that. You're underqualified. You're not even done a degree.
No. Anyone that can think has a position to judge. That is so false. Your opinion is wrong. Any individual, thank you. Any individual that can think can have an opinion on this argument. Any individual that can think can have an opinion on this argument.
I can explain the truth. I'm an atheist. I can explain the truth.
Look at this, an atheist helping a Christian.
Because I've read Thomas Aquinas.
I don't want to be a pedant here. I didn't say that my argument doesn't entail modalities. I didn't say that. That you'd be right if you said what it cannot in your specific argument entails an impossibility. I'm not saying that. I said I didn't use the language of
That's fine.
No problem.
What was my response?
Yeah, fine. What I'm saying to you is this. Fine. I'll accept for the sake of to move forward with this thing. I'm going to say to you, I'm saying it's impossible. For the sake of argument, I am saying yes. I'm going to now use the language of modality. I'm going to use the language of modality to help the situation.
You were doing it the whole time.
What type of modality are you using?
Let me say.
I don't know what.
Let me say it. I'm saying it's impossible for there to be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist. Impossibility, the opposite of it is necessity. So obviously the kind of modality that I'm using is a negative necessity. I am using that, and that is in the tables and the grids of modal logic. Now I'm asking you the question now. Can you disprove that? Show me how it works.
Okay.
Disprove it, man. Test the waters.
Within any axiom of any modal system, you're going to have like three of the first modal axioms. Okay, you're gonna have the K system, you're gonna have the T system,
okay,
you're gonna have the M system.
Why does it lead to modal collapse?
The reason why it leads to the modal collapse is because within the K system, there's going to be something called the distribution axiom.
Okay.
Whereby if you have A,
what's A in this situation?
A would be, for example, the sufficient reason as to why B obtains.
So what? Give me in my argument how that.
In your argument,
yes.
Your conclusion of your argument, because I know you're a theist, and I know
don't say I know you're a theist.
So you're not a theist?
No, it doesn't matter what I am. No, it doesn't matter.
Reason why
you don't
the well has already been poisoned. He invoked my beliefs.
It doesn't matter.
Then tell him to leave.
No, leave him as he is.
No. You're allowing people to poison the well in the audience. You also did it with qualification. You shouldn't go around people's beliefs or qualifications either.
The argument is,
why is it wrong?
The sufficient reason is going to entail the fact.
What's the sufficient reason in this situation?
Well, look, in your particular instance, it's going to be good.
I didn't mention the word God once.
I
didn't use the word God once.
You're being disingenuous. Is it or isn't it?
No, I'm not being disingenuous. I didn't use the word God.
You don't have to
I didn't use the word God. I didn't use the word God.
Okay. Is there a sufficient reason for why that contingent fact obtains?
What contingent fact?
Your posture.
I didn't use the word contingency in my articulation.
Do you know what contingent fact is?
Yes, I do know it.
Tell me.
Okay, contingency can be defined in different ways. I'm not going to go to history of it.
A contingent fact.
No.
What's a contingent fact?
I don't need to tell you because I don't need to tell you.
You just said you
Okay, I'll tell you what. Do you want to know?
Yeah, we do.
You want to know? Go get my book Burhan, which has been peer reviewed in Oxford University, and read it.
Great, then just quote from the book. Then just quote from the book. Quote from the book. Quote from the book.
Signed by me.
Quote from the book. Just quote from the book.
I have a whole chapter talking about contingency.
Hold on. There are terms that you are using in the argument that you haven't clarified.
The reason why I haven't used the word, I don't need to define it now, is because I use the word dependency. You haven't used that word once. Use it and test the waters. Go. Use it and test the waters. Go.
In the definition,
You're really excited. It had the word contingent in it.
Test the waters.
Test the waters.
Test the waters, brother.
Test the waters.
Test the waters. I don't know. Test the waters. Test the waters.
So,
There's
you are not doing the same thing.
Test the waters.
Because sufficient
Test the waters.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
necessary reasons.
I don't
What's necessary reasons?
Necessary
Which
reasons.
ones? Which ones are those?
Look, either the sufficient
Which
reasons.
ones are those?
Either.
Which ones?
Either,
Which ones are those?
Either,
Which ones?
Either.
Which one?
Either.
Which ones?
Which ones are those?
He's
Which ones are
explaining,
those?
meaning either. So he's giving actual reasons. He's giving actual reasons. So I'm not going to touch you, don't worry. So when he says sufficient reasons, he's saying either this sufficient reason or this sufficient reason. He's actually giving you sufficient reasons specifically. It's fine, you're talking to him, so I'm going to talk to you. It's fine. All right. Yeah, opaque context. Opaque context. Opaque context. Opaque relations. Opaque relations. Opaque relations. Opaque relations. Opaque relations. Opaque relations.
You guys don't even know why you're butthurt. Because your religion is dying out.
Opaque relations.
You are butthurt because people are coming to
It
Islam.
seems to be that you're the one that's being emotional. You're the one that's being emotional.
You're just hurt.
You're literally the one trying to stir up to me being emotional. It's okay.
I'm disappointed that I see.
You're not disappointed, you're literally hurt. You're literally hurt. We're saying that what he's saying is wrong. If a Muslim says that 2 plus 2 equals 5, listen, if a Muslim says that 2 plus 2 equals 5, then I would support the person that does not believe that. That's fine. If a Muslim says 2 plus 2 equals 5, then I would say in conclusion that because 2 plus 2 equals 5, that individual is wrong. So it doesn't actually matter anything what I'm saying as well as your religious affiliation. I'm not actually shook about anything. Again, it doesn't actually matter the religious affiliation.
He's given up.
You said you've given up.
He's given up.
Wait, what? Did he say that he's given up?
Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong?
You can ask my question.
That's fine.
I'm answering your question. I'm asking you.
That's great.
Why is it wrong?
It's wrong. Why is it saying model collapse?
Why does it entail model collapse?
Now, look.
Why? Yeah.
Because I can ask a contrastive question.
Which is?
Why is it the case that it obtains rather than it does not?
What do you mean? What is?
Oh my God! Your postulate.
What's my postulate?
Your postulate.
What's my postulate?
He just wants you to repeat it.
What's my postulate?
I'm probably gonna misphrase.
He said repeat the postulate again. So you're talking with confidence. You don't even know.
No. He cannot. What he's saying is that every time he says it, you're just gonna say that you're gonna use another word. That's what he's trying to say. That's fine. I'm not a solicitor. I'm just saying it's fine. The same way that you're speaking with him, I'm speaking with him as well. That's fine. It's okay. Look. You're here. No. I was here already, and that's fine. He's saying that there are certain postulates that will obtain. The postulate that he's saying is literally the fact that there cannot be a state of affairs in which only dependent things exist. Now you're saying that there is no sufficient reason why. You're just repeating the statement, and the words are going over your head, right? And that's okay. That's fine. Yeah, the words are okay. That's fine. It doesn't really matter, right?
What do I need to do? What do I need to do, brother?
You don't even know a model collapse.
That's not an argument.
You don't even know a model collapse.
Why is it model collapse?
You don't even know
why is it model collapse? Why is it model collapse? Why? Why is it model collapse?
You're a model collapse. You are a model collapse, bro.
No, he's not. Then you're saying he's necessity. That doesn't make anything. Oh my God, that doesn't make anything. Stick to the argument. No, stick to the argument. I understand the joke, but it's not really. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because you're saying that he's necessity.
Go.
Essentially, he's trying to say that there's only one possible world, which is this one.
Teach me like I'm ignoramus. Go ahead. Teach me like I'm ignoramus. Teach me like I'm him. Go ahead. Teach me like. Tell me what you mean by model collapse. Tell me why it's model collapse.
I'm actually really experiencing model collapse.
Go. Say it again. Say it again.
But you're the.
No, but you're the one using the word.
You want more chance? One last chance.
Use the word.
You're big Mohammed.
Use the word.
You're big Mohammed.
Use the word.
You're the qualified.
Why is it model collapse?
Before the atheists all the time.
Okay.
I've literally heard you say, give
why
it
is it
enough
model
preparation. Because you can look.
You need preparation. You came 1 year later. Don't try it, man.
Wait, when was he? Was he here last year?
He came here a year and a half ago. And then he went to the getting gassed.
No.
A year and a half ago.
I don't.
And then he did his homework. Came back 1.5 years later.
He's saying your contingency argument will entail modal collapse. Listen, your contingency argument entails modal collapse. You're saying you're a joke.
Someone who believes in God.
You said that I ran away. You said I ran away. You ran away from me. 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 You literally ran away from me. Ali. We have it recorded. You ran away from me. You ran away from me.
You know what it means?
I'm not an existentialist.
They are so afraid of Islam. They will go together.
There is literally no fear. if a Muslim says 2 + 2 is 5, it doesn't matter if you're Muslim. If an atheist says that, then that means that I'm wrong. That's wrong.
1 + 1 = 1 is wrong.
No one's saying that. No one's saying that. Ali, we all know that no one's saying that, Ali. Right? Because opaque relations exist. Opaque contexts exist.
Do you know how many people?
Ali, do you know what an opaque context is?
And I said, why?
Ali, do you know what opaque context is? Ali, do you know what opaque context is? Yeah, because they don't know what an opaque context is. They don't know what an opaque context is. You don't know what an opaque context is.
The churches have been.
We just had an argument with Mansour about opaque context. Again, Ali, do you know what opaque contexts are? Ali, do you know what opaque contexts are? Do you know what they are? Do you know what they are? Answer the question. Do you know what they are? An opaque context. Do you know what they are? The Sky will tell you the same thing. Do you know what an opaque relation is? It's okay. So the fact that you can't answer that question means that you shouldn't be speaking in this conversation. And now you're going to try and speak about something else. It's okay.
I'm answering your question. I'm saying I don't say anything about causality.
Okay, cool. For any per se
Because I was here already.
accidents chain, is there going to be one or more than one thing that explains those things? Explains those chains? Answer my question.
So at the end of what's the entailment of the argument?
Hold on, first, I think I'm going too far. Do you know the distinction between per se and par excellence?
Listen, now you're asking me a trivial question.
Okay, so you don't know. So you don't know.
If you want to go back to
How can you speak about the contingency argument if you don't know these basic things like per se?
I spoke to 1.5 years ago.
Do me a favor.
I spoke to 1.5 years ago.
Ali,
And he came back, bro. I told you enough.
Hey, don't get angry, man.
I spoke to you
I
over
want to know what an
there,
opaque
I can't
context
even
is.
speak to you because you don't know what we're talking about. You don't even
Let him say his thing. I'm trying to get your argument.
Let me speak to your teacher. Let me speak to your teacher.
Don't be
I spoke to you a year and a half ago.
Let me speak to your teacher.
Don't be
Your
rude.
teacher knows more.
Because he's my teacher. He's my teacher. I'm gonna.
So let me speak to
He's teaching you a lesson.
I beg you do me a favor.
You're the new student. You're the new student. We don't like you in class. We don't like you in class because you're chatting crap, bro.
Bro,
Don't worry about that.
Can you tell him to like stop?
Yeah, be quiet,
Can you tell him
bro.
to stop?
Okay, instead of asking me trivial questions and pop questions,
No.
I want to know your argument.
questions.
I want to know your
I need to know that
argument.
you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, no problem.
If you don't know what I'm saying,
no.
I have to explain things all over again. But look,
Explain.
so
Like I'm an ignoramus.
So you're the unqualified one here, in this innocence, right?
No, I'm not, because objectively I've
but
got degrees.
You should
So
know
no,
this.
objectively I've got
If you-
degrees.
Look, if you have
So,
studied the look,
objectively,
if you haven't even gone to
objectively.
university,
Good, so tell me
you
now.
don't even know the distinction
So
between
now, are you
person and
attacking me or the
person.
argument?
I'm not. No, I'm not attacking you. I'm
So
attacking
go with the argument. Go with the argument.
You're the one that's saying. that
Okay,
you-
so go with the argument now, please.
Okay.
Test the waters, please. Go on.
I've tested like 20 times.
No, you haven't done it properly.
Look,
I want to know your argument, please.
is there a sufficient reason that explains why the postulate does obtain rather than it does not?
What postulate?
The postulate you just
What's
said.
my postulate?
Your postulate.
Say it.
I'm not going to rephrase it again because you're going to do
No,
some
because
sophistic rhetoric.
No.
Oh, you can't even say exactly how I said it.
No.
I'm not going to go down that rhetoric.
No, because you're saying the postulate.
No one is convinced of your rhetoric.
Listen,
Let's talk
I
about
will do
the
me a favor.
arguments.
Okay, my
your
argument
is not good.
Okay, tell me why.
I've told you why.
Why? You said it's
I'll
wrong.
say it to you one more time.
Okay, yeah, why?
Is there
Why?
a sufficient reason
Yeah,
as to why your postulate obtains rather than it does not?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Then
now
you're using PSR.
So now you're using a strong version of the PSR.
No.
I hope you know that.
No, hold on.
I hope you know that. Everyone, you're using the strong
Okay, fine.
version
Let's
of
go.
the
Let's-
PSR.
no problem. Let's go with it.
Now,
Go.
do you know what that entails?
Yes, I do know.
What does it entail?
You're saying it entails modal collapse.
What is it? No.
Explain me how.
What does it entail?
It entails the affirmation of my premise.
Oh
In my opinion.
God. Bro, what is this?
It
No,
entails the
it's fine.
affirmation of my
Supposed to be
premise.
big
Tell me why it's
commanding
wrong.
Is this the best you have?
Tell me why it's
Entails
wrong.
the fact that you set a premise. Is that what you're saying? You're saying the
What?
affirmation. Or you
No,
saying that it
well,
tells your
Affirmation
premise is?
tells. What are you
No,
saying?
I think by affirmation it just means it tells that my premise is correct.
That's right.
But that doesn't mean.
Wait. So it's just analytics. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that
You
it
said
tells
that's
my
analytically
premise.
Wait.
Correct.
So are you just throwing out analytic statements? Is that what you're doing?
Can you tell me
I
why
can throw
it's
an
wrong?
analytic statement right now.
By the way,
I can
I'm trying to be
postulate
sincere
something
with you,
right
bro.
now.
I'm trying to be sincere with you. I'm listening to you
Because you
very
don't even know
carefully.
what you're saying right now.
I don't know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay, good.
If you could
Maybe I
just
can
throw
try.
out analytic. Go ahead. Let me see.
Okay.
That's an opinion.
So I'm not an analytic philosopher.
I want to know, with all due respect, why you said it entails modal collapse. I'm trying to understand that.
So we have agreed.
Can I write it down for you?
Go right down.
Yeah,
Take your
yeah.
notebook out.
I'll get my notebook out.
Take some
Yeah.
notes. Come, look.
Actually, I'm not gonna do that because you said it like that.
I mean, the notebook is there, so he'll do it probably after.
No,
But the point is this.
I want to treat you with respect right now. I want to see if your argument actually holds the scrutiny. So tell me now.
Look,
You said,
I
excuse me.
can provide you an actual academic argument. I can
beg
get
you,
up
I
on my
beg
phone
you,
right now and give you
one
the
second.
whole argument.
No, I want to hear this.
Yeah?
You're saying.
So I'm going to give you like maybe like a
What's your
slightly
name
informal
again?
version. Rico.
Rico, listen. I have a postulate. My postulate is there cannot be a state of affairs.
You know what? I'm going to do it like this. Go on, carry on talking. I'm just going to get out my actual argument on my phone. I'm going to read you the whole argument. I'm going to show you why it entails it. Okay?
But my argument is as follows. There cannot be a state of affairs where only dependent things exist. Now, you're saying that entails modal collapse. Now, what do you mean by modalities? my understanding of modalities, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that you've got things like possibility, impossibility, necessity. These are the modalities that I think. When you talk about modalities, that's what I'm thinking about. That's what I understand by modalities.
And then
you say possibility is a modality.
Well, look, that's a modal predicate.
I no problem. That's my understanding.
Yep.
When I write papers, when I read them, that's how I understand the word modality. Modal realism, modal instrumentalism, that's how I understand it. You're saying, no, it's something else. No problem. You tell me what you mean by modality.
Move the tripod
You tell me what you mean by modality.
Through,
you tell me what you mean by modal collapse. And you tell me what you mean by this.
Sorry.
I'll give you all the ones that I've written down.
Yeah, it's just
I've gone to
my
the
fault.
SCP.
Do you mind? Do you see what I've just asked you to do? Because right now we're talking.
I can even give you my definition of what I mean by
All right,
possible.
so start with the first one, so that I know.
So
you want to
what do you want? Do you want my definition of impossible?
What's modality? What is modality?
So look, I'll read out to you.
Yeah.
So, 1 second.
What is modality?
It's just to ask exactly what we mean by something being necessary or possible or contingent.
So that's what I was just saying, right?
Okay.
So
Now,
the
in
modalities are
now-
possibility,
now, hold on.
necessity, and possibility.
You're giving synonyms
look.
that will describe
They're not
that.
synonyms.
Now look.
No,
now, what
synonyms
we
of
mean,
like
hold on,
terms.
no.
Well, when I say sorry,
Now, what we
I'm
mean
saying,
by
please.
modality
Yeah.
is going to be entailed by a particular view in modal logic that we have.
No problem.
Now, I'll give you some examples.
Okay, no,
you
but-
have modal realism, you have
Yes.
modal fictionalism, and you
Yes.
have modal
Combinationalism.
combinationalism.
Yeah.
Those are three different modalities.
No, but hold on.
Now, hold on.
Yeah, fine.
Hold
on.
Now, given that they are different modalities,
No, but
different hold on. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Different modalities apply in different ways.
are
But
going
these
to
are more
apply in different
frameworks.
ways. Now, let me give you
They are
let me give you
frameworks,
one.
but those
Let me give you
frameworks
one.
will apply in
So
different
the
ways. So he's asking which
Aristotelian-
framework
So the
you use.
Aristotelian causal kind of modality, they're going to say for a non-actual state of affairs S is possible either if S is actual or if something exists with causal power bringing about S. That's going to be an entailment of what they mean when they say possible or necessary. That's going to be their modality.
Okay, fine.
Now, when I
So
ask you for your
when-
modality,
yeah.
you have to give me your system
No,
so I can understand what you're saying. Now, if you don't have a
Bro,
modality,
you're talking.
Hold on.
Let this be a
Hold on.
conversation. Let this be a conversation.
I know.
Let this be a
But I'm gonna
conversation.
let me just say one
Let
more
this
thing.
be a
I'm going to
conversation.
give you what I mean when I say possible.
It's
Okay?
like he doesn't want to.
You ask a question and you answer.
I'm
He
gonna-
hasn't
I
finished
haven't
his
finished
statement.
my
He gets to
statement.
finish his statement, but he
You
doesn't.
asked
I
me-
don't.
You asked me three questions.
you do.
okay?
No. I
I'm
want the
gonna-
first question. So what is what? Can you say in a sentence? What is modality?
Modality is what we mean and
Yeah.
what is going to be entailed by a particular view that we hold in a modal framework.
Give me an example.
Modal realism. Modal
Okay, see
fictionalism.
that's where the cross purpose is happening. Good that we done this, yeah? Because when you say modality for me, I'm thinking, does he mean possibility, necessity, impossibility?
So those things are going to be.
Fine, these are modalities.
They're going to be defined in
Right?
different
No, hold
ways.
on,
But they're
that's
gonna
how I
be-
understand
they're
it,
gonna-
though.
I understand. But I'm saying,
But do you understand
in
it?
terms of the literature,
No, the
right?
literature, that's how they use it, bro. They say
In terms of the
modalities.
literature,
They
I
use it like
Literature
this.
has a
Look,
certain
there's
way
going to
of
be
using it,
nuance.
yeah.
You have to understand, like when we read philosophy.
Okay, whatever,
look,
but that's how I read it. In
possibility,
English language.
necessity, contingency, and dependency. These things
Are
are
these
modal predicates.
No, but they also
They
use
are
modalities.
predicates.
I've read it as modalities.
They are predicates.
Bro, I'm
They
telling
are
you.
reading it
modalities
as
telling you,
insofar as
I'm
they
te-
make.
no
They are modalities insofar as they are made
fine.
intelligible
But-
by a framework.
Fine, but
We need
no-
to get specific.
So they're not modalities in themselves, they need a
modalities in
framework. They need a
themselves.
framework
They
that
are
you
predicates
Can we-
that are
Bro,
put
can you just
onto things.
allow me
So
to-
let me
I'm just
explain to
clarifying.
you.
Allow me to come back. Why are you
Sorry,
getting
go on.
frustrated for?
Because
Bro?
it's just because you're supposed to be like the person that.
But stop saying you're supposed to be.
So it's just really hard.
I'm asking you.
When I talk to people that don't have
Stop
qualifications.
sa-
Okay, go ahead.
just
Go ahead.
do me a favor.
Go ahead.
Me and you are talking cross purposes. If we want to advance the conversation, then we need to know what we're talking about. What I say when I say this, what you say when you say this.
Yeah, he's
You're
saying that you need
okay,
a
so
framework.
good. The frameworks, modal realism,
Yeah.
and for example, anti-realism, whatever you want to call it, different terms for it, yeah? That I understand as frameworks, they're different frameworks. You're saying, no, these are modalities. Okay, if you want to call them that, I've not read them as that, no problem, whatever, I don't care, yeah? But I understand that's what you mean by that. When you say modal collapse, are you talking about realism and anti-realism now?
No,
okay.
nowhere
Okay,
near
good, okay, so good. So when you say modal collapse, what do you mean by that?
So
if you don't
remember,
mind?
in a modality, we have possibility, we have necessity, we have
impossibility.
contingency, and we have impossibility.
Yeah, you got 4.
Now, in a modal collapse, what occurs is that in a world, in a possible world, or in all possible worlds,
in a possible world
in a
or?
possible world, or in all possible worlds,
Yes.
the modal predicates collapse into one modal predicate.
Which would be
Necessi-
necessity.
now
Which
necessitarianism.
which could be necessity, it
Yeah.
could be contingency,
Fine,
it
fine.
could be
Or it could be
possibility,
impossibility.
or impossibility.
All right, yeah.
That is what a modal collapse is.
Okay,
Now,
so
the
so
specific
why
argument
why is
you're
that wrong?
presenting.
Why is that incoherent?
Now, hold on, it's incoherent to a view that you hold. And also,
So depending on the view, it's going to
No,
be
no,
like
hold on.
incompatible.
No, but hold on.
it's going to be
let me explain
incompatible
something.
with particular strong intuitions we have about the nature of reality also. Now,
Say that
I
again.
can explain those things
Say that
further.
again.
It's going to be incoherent with really strong intuitions that we have about the nature of reality also. So even though, for example, like necessitarianism is going to be entailed by a modal collapse, by a strong PSR, it's going to be incompatible with the intuitions
okay.
about
I think
about
I
libertarian
understand what
free
you're
will.
saying. Bro, I think I understand it.
Now,
Can I repeat what you're saying? I know what you're saying.
do it. I'm going to give you my whole.
Bro, can I just say, bro, please, I beg, I want to understand what you're saying, bro.
Go.
It's what you're saying effectively tantamount to the following. If you have a necessary being in one possible world, you have a necessary being in all possible worlds.
That's true.
That's true.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, he's
I don't-
gonna say-
No, hold on, excuse me. That is the ontological argument. Look, excuse me. I'm saying to you, I agree with that. If that's what you're saying, perfect. Now we've got somewhere, bro. I beg you. Look, we started off by saying the following. There cannot be a world. There cannot be a state.
There cannot be a
affairs-
state of affairs where everything that exists in the world is contingent.
No, not contingent. Only dependent.
Dependent.
Okay,
Where
now-
only dependent
now-
things
No,
exist.
no, hold on.
Can I just ask you a question?
Please.
Is there a distinction between
Please allow
contingent
it.
and dependent?
Allow it. Now, what you said is that when you say modal collapse, now that you've identified what you mean by modal collapse, I actually don't even disagree with you. If there is a necessary being in a possible world, then there is a necessary being in all
In
possible
all
worlds.
possibles, we agree. Now,
Fine.
the question
That's what you
is,
mean by it.
hold on.
That's
Why-
not only- that's
okay,
only-
so
that's
now
not
my
only
question
what
is,
it
excuse me, let me just, now that we agree now, effectively.
Yeah, misunderstanding
I'm
your
not
argument.
granting
Because
that
they're
it is
just
a necessary being.
I know.
I'm just
whatever.
saying, given that it would be
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
it would
there would.
remain true in all possible worlds.
I know that. That is the ontological argument. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
I'm completely aware of that. You've added the
Yeah,
reverse
okay, good.
ontological
Alright,
argument.
cool.
Doesn't work.
If you're-
The ontological argument is horrible.
I'm not sure if you're aware of that. You said you are.
Even
That's
Einstein
fine.
just used it as a
That's
hand.
enough for me. I take your word for it. Tell me why that contradicts my premise. Why? Now that's where the fight is.
Okay, now remember,
That's what the fight is.
remember what the contingency argument is.
I know what it is.
The contingency argument is an attempt to reason from the fact that contingent objects are unexplained to that something that's not contingent explains them. Now look, if it's the case that necessitarianism is true and a modal collapse follows from that,
Then all those contingent
all
objects have to
contingent
exist.
predicates become necessary,
Yeah.
meaning there's no contingency argument.
Oh, I get what you mean. Okay,
So it's self-defeating.
No, hold on.
So it's
no,
that's it,
hold on.
finished. Alas.
No.
that's
Like,
fine.
nice try. But here's
Nice try.
here's what we will say. There's a response to that.
I understand.
There is a response to that.
I know.
Yeah.
Because what we're talking about is that you've got a necessary being. We accept there's a necessary being. Now, if it's the case that there's a necessary being, and whatever comes out of that necessary, or whatever is manifest from that necessary being, is also necessary, then there is no contingent things. That's basically what you're saying. Therefore, that's what you mean by modal collapse.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now I understand what he's saying, bro. I'll be honest. I don't
That's
understand.
it.
We were trying to say the same thing for like 3 hours. But
That's
it's fine.
been dealt with by our scholars.
How's it been noticed?
Oh yeah, so great. So I've got actually a whole chapter on this.
Yeah.
in the
That's
book.
fantastic.
Yeah? You can read it.
Okay.
From one perspective, you're actually right. So whatever comes from the necessary thing is necessary. From one perspective, I'm necessary, you're necessary, and he's necessary. Because anything that comes from the necessary is necessary. But here's the argument. When I say dependent things, I put a little asterisk there. Now listen to this, yeah?
He has to qualify it, doesn't
Now I have to qualify it.
he? Yeah.
Because everything from one perspective is necessary, I accept that.
By supposition maybe?
No, let me explain now. Because now
Yeah,
we're
go
getting
on.
somewhere.
Sorry.
From another perspective, I'm saying that in abstraction. Now, understand what I mean by that? You know, you say if P equals Q, P therefore Q, if that's coming from necessary, it must be necessary. I accept from one perspective. That's the thing with the cosmic skepticism, you understand what I'm saying? I accept from one perspective. From another perspective, I don't accept. What is that other perspective? In abstraction. This bottle in abstraction is not, there's nothing necessary about it. It doesn't have the intrinsic qualities of necessity.
I would
Look, do you get it? What I'm saying is
I understand that,
What I'm
but-
saying is that dependent things in abstraction are not necessary. They can only be necessary by virtue of another, which is the necessary thing.
But that's wait, hold on. So that's a particular view of not only dependence but also contingency, right? What the modal collapse objection? So people
Do
like
you understand my point?
yeah, you're saying that there are two ways in which you can view it. That's what you're saying. Now, the first
From one
view.
perspective, I agree
So
with
from
you.
one perspective, he's arguing that in some sense everything can be considered as necessary.
Yes.
Now, would it be fair to your position to say that there is no other, that this is the best state of affairs that the necessary being could have actualized? Would that be fair to your position?
That's the position of Ghazali.
That's fair. That's fair. But I'm
That's not
asking.
I don't know. I don't have a. Yeah,
I'm
I'm looking into that.
Yeah, I see. So, for example,
that one there is
Yeah.
a good question.
So in my reading of like Ghazali, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Like I would say that Ghazali posits that that might be the case, but I don't think, let's say dogmatically, I don't think that he has to hold to it.
You are right, because there's actually
I know,
there's a
but
discussion about that.
Yeah, I know, but like what I'm saying
to
is,
you it's a good question.
it's not. That's fine. So
that one there is actually a good question.
yeah, but that's what we're talking about when it comes to the. Just please, yeah. So when it comes to the modal collapse objection, I'm going to use different terms because, by the way, I hate analytic philosophy. Okay, I'm a scholastic. I'm a scholastic. But yeah, we don't want to use like analytic terms.
Why are you on his side?
Because you're more familiar with it. What?
Are you not? Are you?
It's not about science. It's not about science. What I'm saying is,
the third way.
yeah.
With Thomas Aquinas.
No, Aquinas is whoa. So okay. As a Thomas, right? Aquinas' third way would accept, in some sense, necessity by supposition. So, for example, if I said that, boom, your big leg is cut off, yeah. Necessarily, you wouldn't be able to walk. However, if you sit down, necessarily you wouldn't be able to walk either. These are the distinctions that he gives. So there's a certain kind of necessity in the second definition that wouldn't entail in the first. Right. But you're saying, so then you're agreeing with me saying that there is necessity by supposition, not necessity absolutely.
That's right.
Now, this is the issue though. This is the issue that I would say. I would say
the
that.
third way.
Yeah, that's not the third way in itself. The third way has to be
the
with.
entailment of it. I'm saying that, no, bro, can I just tell you something?
Yeah, go on.
The third way of Thomas Aquinas,
Right.
most scholars maintain that it was taken from Ibn Sina.
Yeah, no, I agree that like Thomas Aquinas, like
no, I get it.
he references Ibn Sina, but the problem is.
I get it, but what I'm just trying to say to you is this:
go on.
what I'm saying to you here, is not different from the third way entailment. I'm saying that whatever Thomas Aquinas said on the third way, the entailment of the third way, I follow that for the most part.
Is the third way distinct from the first way that he makes?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would hold the view that the third way and the first way are mutually intelligent.
Yeah,
Now,
I agree with that, but it's distinct because he makes it different ways, right?
I'm saying it in a bias. The reason why he's saying this ways only in distinction of reason. So there are like 9 or 10 distinctions that Aquinas gives. So we would say this is in the distinction of reason, which is basically just on the part of the intellect itself, rather than in reality. Now
but he distinguishes them himself.
Then he distinguishes them on the part of the reason.
But that's the argument. I'm making the argument that Aquinas is making.
You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. That's why I'm trying to help you out here. So when it comes to Aquinas, in his thought, when he writes the Summa, he only distinguishes them insofar as a reader can understand them.
It's a massive book, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, the Summa is incredibly massive.
No one's read that.
No, I was able to, yeah.
The whole thing?
The whole Summa? Apart from the supplementum.
Really? Yeah, well done to you. It's like that big, bro.
No, but again, the Summa, it has to be read in a specific way. So there's like Garrigou Lagrange's commentary as well as the Manual tradition, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
No, I'm not familiar with.
Right, so I'm a Thomist, so this is
Fair
my
enough,
right? Sorry, apologies. I'm actually so sorry. So when it comes to what Aquinas is saying, right, the argument that he's trying to present to you is that when you have, for example, God's creative power, it depends on how you view God's creative power. For example, so the modal collapse objection, I'm going to use it in the way that like modern philosophers such as
in your opinion, how would Aquinas respond to the modal collapse objection?
So Aquinas, so the way that Aquinas would respond to the modal collapse objection is that he would presuppose divine simplicity. What he would say
again?
He would presuppose divine simplicity.
Okay.
So with, I don't know if you accept divine simplicity or not.
In one sense, not another sense, but go on.
I'm talking about in like the Aristotelian form.
Probably not.
Yeah, exactly, right. What about in the Avicenne form?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so keep going.
So when we talk about divine simplicity, for Aquinas, he would say that since the notion that is supplied by active power, which is God's just like second act, that is always in second act rather than first act. So because it's in second act, then we can say that it would be an atemporal action that happens, rather than something that has to exist in time that happens before. So the only necessity it can have is necessity by a supposition. When you have, for example, God's creative power, he would say that since the notion that is supplied by active power, which is God's just like second act, that is always in second act rather than first act. So because it's in second act, then we can say that it would be an atemporal action that happens, rather than something that has to exist in time that happens before. So the only necessity it can have is necessity by a supposition. It's the same thing with people like Palamas.
By the way, I affirm that.
But the only way that works is if God is identical to that creative act.
No, it's not identical. It's not.
That's the thing. So that now we get to meat and potatoes, right? Hold on, please.
Hold on. Because that's not true, bro. It's like
I'm arguing that if you don't, so if you say that the creative, if you say that the creative act of God,
that's not true, bro. Because what it is.
hold on. I understand that your point is going to say you're going to say that they don't have to. I understand that, right? So let's just walk through, because I don't know if half of the people understand what's being said here, right? It's just me and you, right? Cool. When we talk about God's creative power, okay, the creative act, not just the power, right? Because that's going to be first act. You're going to define it as first actuality, meaning something that is in action relevant to the agent and in potency irrelevant to the effect. The problem with that is that will entail changing God, and so the creative act has to be in second act, which you would agree with. Here's the issue though. If those two things are distinct, now you have two necessary existing things rather than two necessary existences in the, let's say, concrete way. So, if that is the case, then the P implies Q relation now comes in. Okay. Let's say we have God. Are you saying there's two necessary existences? I'm not saying that, because I would affirm that they're identical. I would take the Thomistic position. Okay, let me ask you a question. On Thomas Aquinas' view, this bottle, go on. Does it exist by necessity? No. So what is it? It would exist. It would exist contingently. Sorry, my words. It would exist contingently. So it depends. Is there any perspective? I want to answer your question how, right? No, again. The question how is warranted, but again, it depends on what school you follow, depending on how you define dependency and contingency and stuff like that. But all right, in the Thomistic school of thought, we can say contingency would just be argued that considering the quiddity of the thing itself, right, is existence to be applied to it in an actual sense. So, for example, if I may, thank you. Bottle of water that he just finished, great by the way, good hygiene. Bottle of water, if you consider the quiddity of the bottle does not have to have actual existence or essay, right? However, if you consider God, since Aquinas' definition of God is very similar to Avicenna as well as like other Neoplatonians, his definition of God is ipsum esse subsistence.
But you're not kind of answering my question here.
I am. Just let me finish. Trust me.
Is this bottle contingent?
But the reason why it's contingent is because when you consider the quiddity of the bottle in itself, existence isn't applied. Now, you're going to say...
What's your name again?
SIIIG. 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 Yo.
From one perspective, the fact that God, the instantiation of this bottle is because God, the necessary existence, put it into existence.
I agree with that. That's fine.
So is that done necessarily?
Now, that depends. It depends on your view, right?
Yeah.
I would not say even from that. I would say that if this exists, then necessarily God created. If that's what you're saying, that's the thing. All right. You're saying if God exists, he necessarily created that. Yes. That's what he's going to say is modal collapse. Now, what type of necessity are you using?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, go.
So necessity is dictated by the will of God.
Oh, no. As in, when you say the term necessity itself, what does that mean? Are you using it in a mode? So, for example, we can have modal necessity where we say that it exists in all possible worlds. So, for example, you would say, God. Right, that's what I'm saying. Right. So when you say necessity, there are different usages. So I'm
not using it in that sense.
Right. So what use are you using?
I'm using it in the sense that it exists necessarily.
You're just saying the word. I'm asking for the definition, please.
No. You're saying to be in all possible worlds. Why does that have to be all possible worlds?
Right. No. That's what modal necessity means. So when we talk about
real in a real sense or in an instrumental sense.
No. Not with David Lewis. It's more so just to do with people.
I want to understand what you're saying.
So like the bottle could have been in a different way, right? That's what we're saying.
So like for example, if I take the bottle of water, right? Yeah, go.
Let me explain the position.
Because I'm not using David Lewis, right? Yeah, go on.
I'm sure. I'm not a Thomist, but I'm pretty sure it's going to have to be similar. It's going to have to be similar.
You're going to try and argue that summa contra gentiles, though.
No, I'm saying the following. In abstraction, like you said.
Not necessarily.
You said in essence. I was listening closely to what you're saying to understand.
Yeah.
In essence, there's no intrinsic attribute in this bottle.
No. There is no. So existence.
There's no intrinsic attribute in this bottle. There's nothing in this bottle, in essence, which has necessity in it. Okay.
Which has existence in it.
That would be existence in it.
So, for example, he.
Okay. I know.
I can please. Trust me. I need to qualify this, please. Yeah. So. Bro,
go.
I'm coming. So when it comes to necessity for Aquinas, right? He makes a distinction. I'm sure you're aware of this. Right, but that's in the day essay. Pardon?
What's that guy called that debated Graham Oppie, the Christian guy?
Kuhns? No.
The one who wrote a book on Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas.
Oh, Fazer. Oh my God, yeah, Ed Fazer. But Ed Fazer. Okay, so I'm not a Fazerian Thomist, right? But when it comes to Aquinas, I'm talking about the work he made at 30s.
Fazer explains in his book.
Yep.
That Thomas Aquinas, because that's how I understand Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, go on. From Fazer. So you're a Fazerian Thomist.
No, I'm not Fazerian anything.
So you're understanding Aquinas through Fazer.
One of the guys that I looked at.
Yeah? Exactly. You're using Aquinas through Fazer.
What I'm saying is that he distinguishes between essence and existence.
Right?
Okay. That's notwithstanding the point, because what I'm saying to you, whether or not he gives the following example. is there a difference between the circle,
Yeah.
the existence of it, and the essence of it?
Yes.
So
There's a distinction
Thomas,
between
he
the
says that
quantity of
Thomas
the
Aquinas could say that the difference is that the essence of the circle
Yeah.
is the circularity of it.
Yeah, like liquidity is its definition.
Sure.
But in the definition,
that's-
existence isn't
I
entailed.
understand, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is you're kind of moving away from the contingency point. Is this bottle contingent on Thomas Aquinas' worldview?
In his worldviews. Now, again,
okay,
Steve, please, because again,
Go,
the
go.
Summa is a very big book, but we're referring to the Diente, which I don't know if you've read, right? Exactly
I
right.
haven't even read the whole Summa.
I'm telling you about the Diente, right? He made this at 30 years old when he made this for his Dominican students.
ahead.
So I'm explaining, right? So the bottle of water, you would consider the bottle of water in its definition. Now, if you consider the definition of the water, existence is not going to be part of the definition, and thus it wouldn't be necessary. That's what he's saying. It's not entailed in the definition of the subject that existence is there. For example, you can conceive of a unicorn without the unicorn having to exist.
Yeah, sure.
Now, for God, you would say this, right? God is necessary because in the definition of God, God is, as Aquinas says, ipsum
No, but
esse subsistence.
I get what you're saying, but you're not-
Existence is entailed in that. If I can finish, please.
I get it, but you're
So
not,
with
you're
that-
not dealing with what I'm asking.
That's why it's contingent.
So
That's why it's
it's
contingent.
Right, okay.
That's why though.
Okay, so why is there no
Aye.
modal, why is it not a modal collapse? So you believe in necessary being, right?
Yeah.
Thomas Aquinas believes in necessary being.
Yeah.
So why is it not a modal collapse according to Thomas
Because
Aquinas?
I accept necessity by supposition.
How?
So necessity by supposition with the example that I gave before with the
Show me.
man and the leg and the
Now give me
sea.
an example of this ball.
Oh yeah. So
How would that work?
if P then Q, so we're going to have a one-way relation, right?
Yes.
So if P then Q, if the bottle exists, then necessarily God created it.
Yes.
However, the relation would not work. It's not a
Opposite way?
biconditional, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't work. However, just because God exists, it would not entail the existence of the bottle.
But that's only because
But that's necessary. But I affirm divine simplicity, and God's creative action is in second act.
With all due respect,
That's fine.
what you've just said there is exactly my position.
But I'm saying
No,
that
hold
that
on, no,
position.
please, because I don't like what you're doing right now.
Oh, what am I doing?
What you're doing is
Yeah.
you understand exactly where I'm coming from, but I feel like there's a big insincerity here.
I'm
That's what
no.
Excuse me.
No, that's not what's going on. That's not what's going on.
Excuse me, bro.
Yeah, that's fine. That's not what's going on at all.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's fine.
This bottle,
Mm.
okay, I accept. I'm articulating it in a different way.
Yeah, I know.
I'm saying that this bottle, from one perspective, is contingent.
Yes.
Because in abstraction, there's nothing within this bottle.
In abstraction. Oh,
In
okay.
abstraction, there's nothing within this bottle, nothing within the existence of this bottle, which has necessity within it.
Okay, you're just using necessity as a like.
No problem
property.
how I'm
That's fine.
articulating the point. Thomas Aquinas would not disagree with what
I'm
saying.
trying to understand the point
Thomas
because
Aquinas cannot disagree with what I'm saying right now. Do you understand what I'm
right
saying?
now, no.
But you know what I'm saying, right?
I'm trying to
From
walk
another
through.
perspective, if P then Q, then P there for Q.
Yeah, if you think yeah.
Modus ponens. You're saying it's a one-way relationship of necessity
Yeah.
because God's creative act.
Yeah, because we can't
That's
affirm the
exactly
consequence.
what I'm saying. I'm saying that from one perspective, it's one way.
Okay.
It's one way. It is because God is necessary. That bottle exists because of God.
Okay.
That's
now
same thing.
this is the question.
What's the difference between what I believe and what you believe?
Because of what the creative action is.
Okay.
So let's break this
Yes.
down, right? So to what degree do you understand first and second acts, like Aristotle stuff?
No, just please tell me.
So that I know like how to like refer to
I
it.
don't know. No,
Okay,
go.
okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So first actuality, we can consider it as okay. Just for example, could you close your eyes, please? Okay, cool. Your ability to see is going to be what we call first act. You seeing is going to be second actuality.
Okay, is that what it says? Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. And people like Palamas say the same thing. The intelligent Gregory Palamas,
Okay.
a Greek theologian, very
Okay, go.
intelligent guy, whatever. Point is this though.
What's the point?
The point is that creative act has to be in second actuality. So in order for necessity by supposition has to work,
Yes.
it has to be in second act. So with actually seeing, right? Otherwise, God moves from potentia to actuality in himself, which we can't affirm. Yeah, go on.
Well, I don't understand your point.
Oh, right.
Second act meaning what?
In this example, the seeing. So if we apply that to God, we can say that the first act would be God's ability to create. Second act would be God actually creating. Now, here's the thing. The act of creating, is that a necessary action in itself or a contingent action?
We would say it's determined by the will of God, right? You would agree with that?
The will of God would be his act.
Right, fine.
Right, and that's fine. That's
So
right.
what's the problem?
The problem is we need to know. So if it is,
where do we differ?
we differ. Well, we don't. Okay, we differ
Yeah.
in the articulation of whether this
Excellent.
creation
Well,
act. Oh no. Just say,
Fine.
we differ
don't actually
in
differ then.
we differ in the understanding of whether the creative act is first or second act. So
How?
you said, and this is the response that you gave.
Go on.
You said that the necessity. You said that the act of creating is just going to be the will of God, right? It's going to be entailed by the will of God. Now I understand that point. That does not address the question asked. The act
What did you
of
say?
creation, the act of creating itself. the act of creating.
That's
Is
fine.
that,
I mean, so what? Like,
yeah, is that
Yeah.
first actuality
What does
or
that mean?
second
What does that
actuality? With
What
the
does that
example I
mean?
used before.
The eyes see.
The eye and the
I
seeing.
don't get you. I don't
Okay, okay.
understand.
So first actuality
Yes.
is, sorry, if you just could step back a bit, Prosper, if that's okay.
Sorry?
Just step back a bit, if that's okay. Sorry, I just need some space. That camera thing on my leg, that's why I'm
Okay,
trying to, yeah. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, if we had chairs, it'd be great, but we don't.
Oh, it's fine.
Do you want to go to place with chairs?
Well, I mean,
We can set the cameras, no one cares, it's fine.
got time?
We got time.
let's just finish it. Let's finish it. Go on.
My
What
legs
do you mean
in
by first act and second act?
So, first act, right?
It's an Aristotelian term.
Yeah, these are Aristotelian terms, yeah.
Okay, so what do you mean by
These
that?
are terms, yeah, exactly, that's what I'm explaining to you.
Yeah.
It's fine. Sorry for speaking fast, by the way, guys.
go on.
So, when it comes to first actuality,
Yes.
think of it as the power, ability, dunamis of a thing, right? In Greek, dunamai, right, meaning the ability to do X. In an example, the ability to see. This remains in act even when the ability itself is not being used. That's called first actuality. People like T. Compino will give the example of the fact that this can be actus purus in some sense. It's
Okay,
false,
so
but
I
it's
don't
fine.
understand. Why is this bottle contingent or necessary in your worldview?
It will be contingent.
Okay, excellent. But is it necessary from one perspective? It's necessary because of God, the necessary.
By supposition only.
Excellent. The same thing.
Right, that's fine,
So,
that's fine,
yeah,
that's fine.
I agree.
Okay,
I agree with what you said.
Okay, you agree with what I said.
Okay, so-
Now I'm gonna say
so you
that
disagree
you
with
cut.
him?
Pardon?
You disagree with him?
In what sense?
So look,
So no, hold on. So, no,
I know you're trying to.
No, I'm not trying to do anything.
I'm saying to you.
just
No,
saying,
look. What's going on is that
Please, bro, please, Rico,
Brother.
Rico.
he's Rico. I'm SIIIG.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
It's cool. It's cool.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
So me and you both believe
Yeah.
a necessary being,
Yep.
an unnecessary being, placed into the world contingent things,
Yeah.
and those contingent things are necessary from one perspective only because they come from necessary.
Only from supposition,
so
but
how
the
would you
problem.
respond to his modal collapse objection?
Well, I believe in divine simplicity. The creative act is second actuality, and since it's atemporal, it's fine.
Because he believes in divine simplicity, anything predicated to God is God.
That's exactly my view. So
You affirm divine
So you
simplicity.
believe that God is identical to his creative act?
No, but you don't have
That's
to
the
believe.
thing. That's
no,
the
but
thing.
you didn't explain in your explanation.
I tried to, but then you said, "Brother, please." That's what you did.
You didn't say identicality. You used what identicality.
I didn't do that, but I said I said in an
Where does-
absolute
wait,
sense.
I want to know this because
Go on.
I read the Shema, or at least the third way. And the
How
first
much
one-
of the Summa have you read?
No, about 200 pages.
No, as in like how many questions?
I only read the bit.
You know how there's prima pars, segunda,
I
segunda
didn't read all
parties.
that stuff.
All right,
I
so
read
you
the
just don't say
theology-
200 pages, like different translations. I don't really understand. So just say like,
You asked me a question of how much I
yeah.
read.
If someone says, for example, how much of a no. For example, if I say how much of Augustine's De Trinitas have I read, I'll be like 15 chapters,
I
right?
don't know. I don't know how many chapters. I just read the ways, innit?
Oh, okay. So you haven't passed question 3. You haven't passed question 3. That's fine.
I don't know if it's question 3 or
It's in question 2. It's fine.
Is it question 2?
Question 2, yeah. Where it talks about the existence of God is demonstrable, then he gives arguments for it. So then you're probably on like, have you got to the perfections of God yet? Right.
Yeah, perfection of God, yeah.
Right. So then you're on question 4, right? Just touching into it.
Yeah, and that and the theology. Anyway,
Yeah, simplicity. Yeah.
go back to the point.
Yeah.
My question is this.
Yeah.
You said identicality.
No, you said I didn't use that. Remember?
Okay, so can you explain what you mean by identicality?
I didn't use it, so I'm not explaining it. I didn't use it. You did.
Okay, good. So you don't
Yeah.
believe that God has to be identical to his creation?
Oh, I can use the term now because you want me to clarify.
Do you
That's
believe that
fine.
God is identical to his creation?
No.
So then we don't disagree in anything.
No, we don't
On this
disagree.
point.
We don't disagree on this point.
Why-
However,
so can I ask a question?
you're gonna say, why am I arguing against you?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, because I think that maybe there may be certain elements of your position that are different from mine.
No, but I'm saying that I am sympathetic to Aquinas' third way. So why are you unsympathetic to my articulation?
Because in Aquinas' third way, Aquinas identifies God as just existence itself, which you understand. So hold on. So this is important, right? Huh?
That's exactly what Ibn Sina says.
Yeah, right. But you would agree with me that in your articulation, wujud is a genus. Wujud, existence, is a genus. Right. Aquinas believes that existence is not a genus. God is not contained in such, so he disagrees
Yeah, that's
with your.
Ibn
Right, I understand that's Ibn Taymiyyah's view, and that's fine. People like to stand and
I'm just
disagree.
saying I don't care. Like that's semantical.
That's not semantical. If it's a genus,
With due respect.
if it's a genus, it's composite. That's the problem.
And if it's composite,
Then it's finite, right?
Yeah, that is. No. but
That's
then-
why you have certain philosophers that
Can I
say God
respond?
doesn't exist
Can I
as
respond?
wujud in a
Can
genus.
I respond?
Yeah, go on.
What do you call it? The nominalist response?
Oh, you're a novelist?
I'm sympathetic to the opinion.
Fez?
Okay.
You seem not to be committed to a position, but that's very smart. That's very smart.
No, I'm-
I wouldn't do the same thing. I would just say like,
I'm sympathetic to the opinion.
I get you.
What Ibn Taymiyyah responds to this? He says that when you say that wajib wujud is a composite because it's what would you call it?
Jesus.
Jins and fasl or whatever, yeah, which is that genus and it's two
Genus and
things.
species, right?
Yeah, genus and species, right?
Yeah.
So his response that it's only like that in the mind. It doesn't. It's not like that as an ontological existence. Ontologically, it's not really like that. It's not a composite ontologically.
So then they're not distinct outside of the mind.
Pardon?
So again, like you're breaking down Ibn Taymiyyah very well, and by the way, Ibn Taymiyyah says different things when it comes to applying it to God.
No,
and
I'm
stuff
just
like
saying to you. I'm just saying to you that
I know what you just
that
said.
it's inconsequential to the point. The point is this.
So then you didn't need to mention it.
No, I'm only mentioning this to tell you there's different opinion within Islam.
I know.
I'm only saying to you.
Yeah.
Right?
But we're talking about your position.
My position is follows. Yeah. This bottle is contingent.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
But it's necessary from one perspective. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. He said that entails modal collapse.
Is that what you're saying?
Given that, the reason why his position is a bit different from yours.
Yeah. Go and tell me what you think.
Two things. One, he's a classical theist, right? So he believes that God isn't a being among beings, that God is being. God doesn't even have desires in his world.
What's that got to do with anything, bro?
I'll tell you, man.
How does that? Sorry.
So God isn't an agent in this. So when we say, so the reason why
this seems,
hold on.
This doesn't seem right, bro.
I'll explain to you why my particular.
It seems like a staged almost.
No. The reason why it doesn't work against his particular position, which I'm still studying, I'm still looking into, I'm still trying to.
Wait, so why is it not modal collapse? What you said?
Because.
Okay, so excuse me. Let me ask you a very specific question. You've read Thomas Bryan's Third Way?
No. Well, I mean, I've read like some of his.
Okay, can you summarize it?
The Third Way?
Yes.
I'm gonna try. No. The Diente argument is the strongest one he makes.
Can you summarize the Third Way?
I'm gonna try and make sure it's distinct from the first way, right?
Go on.
Okay, argument for motion. I think he's going to be arguing for. Oh, right. So essentially, no. He's going to be like basically. No.
That's the second way.
No, that's the argument from efficient cause. No. That's the argument from efficient cause. Argument from possibility and necessity. That's what. I know. I'm just trying to make sure that's distinct from the first way because they're so similar. I can't even.
Thomas, this is easy.
Yeah. No. It's not easy to distinguish them unless you really think.
What's the third way?
I'm just. Give me a second.
Yeah.
So, for anything that exists, it is either possible or necessary. That's what he wants to prove. But he has to prove that necessary things can exist in the first place. So what he does. No, he has to prove that necessary things can exist.
He doesn't do this.
Yes, he does. Yeah, he does. I can pull this in right now.
No, hold on. Can we just hold on?
Hold on. Listen, that's really important.
Hold on, bro.
So
he starts exactly the same way that I've said it was. He doesn't try and prove a necessary thing in the beginning.
I didn't say that.
He said he has to prove that necessary things start.
No, he has to prove that he has to prove
things.
Yeah.
He has to
No. He has to prove that there aren't only just contingent things. Right?
Yeah, but he does that. He argues out of certain.
Yeah, exactly. He argues from the impossible contract.
How?
Right. So he says that let us say that there are only contingent things that exist. Right?
Oh! Sorry. No, wait, this sounds so serious. Go on. Go on, say it.
Oh,
go on. Let's go.
So he's going to say that for anything, I'm actually going to read it to you.
By the way, I don't know.
What do you think it is?
Because I don't know, like, you get something.
I don't use the phone, I use the Yeah, I'm just getting it. So, the first way, I tried to get the permit because there's some time that you make it sense. So, basically, we find in things that are possible to when you apply the possibilities that they are generated. So, it's going to be So, we find the nature things are possibility, and consequently, they are possible to it is impossible for contingent things to always exist because in the definition of it, at some time they not exist or exist. And so, it is impossible for these things to always exist. It's possible not to be at some time is it existing. So let's say that there would be nothing. But evidently, there is something. Therefore, there would be.
Are you saying that it's impossible for this to be
But by necessary, he's altering things. So, for example, when I find something about.
He's trying to show you possibility. Contingent things. Would you agree with that?
Look, that he's trying to show the possibility.
Yes. He's showing the impossibility.
Impossibility. Yes.
Of only contingent things.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's a sufficient reason.
No, what is the sufficient reason?
that it is impossible.
Why is it impossible?
Right. The reason why it's impossible is he's using a proof by contradiction.
Yes.
So let's say that we assume that this thing is the case. So assume the contrary is the case. The contrary would entail a contradiction, and thus we would enter explosion. So we can't tell that
Do you
view.
agree with this?
That's the sufficient reason.
I agree with that.
That's the sufficient reason.
I agree with that argument.
Is that a sufficient reason?
Yeah. This is,
So
I agree
then,
with that
but guess what?
We
Guess
all
what?
agree with the same
But wait, guess what? Guess what? Wait, hold on. But guess what? Guess what?
That is exactly
But
what I'm
guess what? That means that as a Thomas, but that means
That's
guess what?
right.
Hold on. Like guess what?
Yeah.
That means Aquinas used
No,
the
no.
PSR.
No problem.
Right. That's what we're saying. Now let's just clarify for what you said before. Right. Hold on.
Bro, there's nothing,
Is it possible? Is it possible? Hold on. Is it possible? Is it possible that there are PSR defiant things? That there are things that defy the
If you
PSR.
ask me, bro.
Yeah.
No, I don't do that.
Right. Thank you. And
No,
then
I don't
then
think that, yeah,
right.
Yeah,
go on. Yeah.
What I was saying about the PSR thing,
Yeah.
that my articulation argument didn't have the same language as Leibniz. That's what I'm saying.
We know, we already understood that like 3 hours ago, but we're saying that you still had to use the PSR. That's what we're saying.
Fine, I get what you're saying. And I don't
Thank
think
you.
I don't disagree with that.
I know, but like this is why like
I did mention that to him, bro. I said to him,
I've said it.
you agree with that? So
Go on.
can we? I didn't think it would end this way. I have to say.
I didn't think it would end in the way that we can now get to the implication, right?
Bro,
The
no, no,
implication
no,
is
no,
going to
this
be
implication is necessary.
okay. Okay, so the implication of Aquinas' argument would be necessary being, but now we're getting into
the implication, according to Aquinas, the existence of a necessary thing. Correct?
no, that's correct, of necessary things in general. Yes.
No.
Yes. No. Hold on.
Clearly goes for one. And he
No. That's false. No. And the reason I understand that is because angels, even by Faces' book, and you've read Faces' book, right?
No, you're right.
He says that angels are necessary, and he has to distinguish between necessary per aliud and necessary per se.
That's what I was saying, brother. Can I tell you something?
Yeah, go.
What you just what's that one?
Per aliud.
Per aliud.
Yes.
What I was saying in abstraction versus.
No.
I beg you, just wait.
Per aliud is not an abstraction.
No, I'm not saying per se is. I'm saying that, per se. No, wait.
No, it's fine. Go.
Wait. You know, you said it's presupposed that it's a necessity through presupposition. But we're using
Supposition.
Through supposition.
Yeah.
And we're using different language, but we're saying the same thing. You have to appreciate this.
Okay, I'm appreciating the fact that you're agreeing with me, and I appreciate that, but here's the problem. Bravo, come on.
Look, I appreciate one point. Maybe in the third way by itself, I don't think that Thomas Aquinas, he expected one of those arguments to be sufficient by themselves.
Actually,
I don't think so. I think I have read secondary source material that indicates, might be wrong.
such as who?
Facer, I think, but I might be wrong. But let me double check. It's in my book though. But I think Facer, I have to double check.
Facer says that the arguments can be taken in isolation, but it's more powerful to put them
When you
together.
put them together.
Right, but this is important. This is important.
Let me just make the point.
Yes, fine.
I'm saying the following.
Yeah.
Even if one agrees, fine. He makes these distinctions.
Yeah.
I do strongly believe that in the third way, he's arguing for one existence.
That's fine.
Fine.
In its end, yes.
Fine.
For one per se existence.
Beautiful.
Hold on. This is why we're trying to, because again, we're having what we're doing is a symposium. We're not arguing.
I'm not Thomas.
I know you're not. I know you're not. The reason why I'm referencing the language. Okay, look.
Could not be. But the point is this: the most important point of this discussion is the following.
Yeah.
We have now come to a conclusion that the third way, okay, he agrees with the argument.
He agrees that the argument would be valid in this.
Valid. I'm just saying it's
the
different.
argument, it can be summarized as there cannot be contingent things alone in existence. I said there cannot be dependent things alone in existence. Fine, contingent things, dependent things. You agree with that, yeah?
But you said there's a difference between them.
Fine, no problem. Well, I'm just saying, do you agree with that?
That there can't be dependent things only?
Yeah.
But that's on my schema though.
No problem. Do you agree with it?
Yeah, on my schema.
Accept. Okay, there cannot be contingent things alone.
On my schema, yes.
You agree with that?
On my schema, yeah.
Sure. Alright, do you agree with that? Thank you. I'm gonna go pray now, because we're done.
No, we're not done. No, the reason, hold on. Before you go and pray, this is why you need me. This is why, hold on, before you go, hold on. Before you go, hold on. You got to hold on. Before you go, and it's fine, hold on. Before, no, it's fine, no, it's fine. Look, what's the time? What's the time? Look, I missed my Vesper. Here's the problem though. I missed my Vesper, but it's fine. No, hold on. The reason why his argument works is because there is a certain view of the PSR that you hold. That's what he was trying to get to the entire time. No, I didn't do that. That's not what's going on. That's not what's going on. He's trying to say my view. That's not what's going on. No, that's not what's going on. That's not what's going on. Your view entails a certain view of the PSR. That's the problem, Mohammed. Right? So because your view entails either a strong or a weak version of the PSR, right? So here's the point. It's fine. Look,
I'll just pray first, and then we can finish this off.
it's fine.
I'm happy that you.
I don't need to pray in front of people. I need to go and pray my Vesper.
No, you don't need to pray.
Yeah, I know.
need to pray.
No, I need to pray.
Okay, you can pray.
I'm gonna go and pray my Vesper. Because I'm supposed to go into my inner room, as Christ says. That's fine. I'm gonna go and pray my Vesper. Huh? Yeah, I need to pray my sixth Vesper. Hold on. I need to pray my fourth Vesper and then go.
Right, let's do a wrap up.
Okay, this is the wrap up. Obviously, Mohammed Hijab doesn't understand like how PSR really works. Okay, it's fine. His view of the PSR, as other people like Khalil and Daniel pointed out, is that there is no way in which like different worlds can exist. This is the best possible world. It's necessary. There is no other way that God could have created the world. It's the only way that God could have created the world. Now, here is the problem. Depending on his view on the PSR, it's going to lead to different things. Now, Christians, he tried to do a big display earlier that he's going to go and pray in front of everyone. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and pray my Vesper. I don't need to record me praying my Vesper because I don't care about whether other people can see me praying. If you're a Christian in the park, you can come and pray with me. But I'm going to go and pray my Vesper. See you later.
Thank you, bro.